Hey, what's up, everybody? This week there is going to be a different in this episode of Movie Time. See, Blake, he's not a fan of fantasy movies, so he was in no way going to go watch the new Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, and so there's no way that we were going to be able to have a conversation and talk about it. That being said, he's also off this week, so he's not around. So instead of me just doing a solo episode by myself, I figured, you know what? There is certain episodes that we recorded that we never were able to publish because maybe there was a quick audible that was made, something else came in and decided to publish something different. Maybe we suffered from some technical difficulties that prevented us from airing an episode, or just allowing me more time to fix the episode that we recorded. Multiple multitude of reasons. So it kind of, those things and those episodes have kind of become lost media. I feel like lost media is like the new buzzword on the internet, especially on YouTube and all that. But I decided to just clean up one of these episodes and put them out there. It's an episode that we actually recorded in February of this year, right, like literally right before Valentine's Day. So you'll hear us talking about Titanic celebrating their anniversary. But the main topic of the episode was, we were going to take the spirit of March Madness, given that we are at the end of March, and kind of put all the Oscar award winning animated feature films head to head in a tournament style bracket. We would judge each one of those matchups to come up with what is the ultimate animated feature film that has won an Oscars since the induction of that category a little over 20 years ago. So we had a lot of fun doing this episode. Obviously, it was done before this year's Oscars, so you won't be hearing Pinocchio mentioned in this list. And maybe we'll do this again in a year or two. So keep that in mind. But I hope you all enjoy this episode, this, I guess, recovered episode that didn't air before. And if you did want to hear our thoughts about Dungeons and Dragons Honor Among Thieves, well, that will never happen. But I did do a review about it, and it's on the channel right now. So make sure to check out the channel either on YouTube or also on your podcast platform of choice. The audio version of the review is on there as well. So you know what time it is. Just sit back, relax, grab your favorite snack. It's time for movie time. Coming at you right now. What's up, everybody? Another episode of Movie Time. That means it's a brand new week, so it's time for another brand new episode of Movie Time. You got myself, Renee, Low-Key Geek here, and my boy, Blake, the Wolf. Blake, what's going on, my dude?
Renee, I am feeling so animated.
I
How
see what you're doing.
are
Yeah.
you?
Uh, I am
I am.
doing great. I'm trying to be like the stop motion guy. But yeah, I'm looking forward to having this little game that we decided to do, kind of like in honor of the Oscars, especially the animated feature film category. And we're gonna have our own, and we're going into March soon, so March Madness is going to be a big thing. Everyone's going to go nuts. All the offices are going to have their office pools and all that stuff like that. Everyone's waiting for what Barack Obama's going to pick as far as his winner of it all. So why not we do the same thing here, but with animated films? And there's a reason why I also chose this category too, and we'll go into that in a minute. But if you're brand new to this channel and you're just coming in for the very first time, welcome. What an episode to come in on, because this is going to be kind of interesting. Yeah.
Playing a game.
We're going to play a little game, and we like to have a little fun with stuff. But this is Movie Time. We are a weekly movie review podcast where two buds get together, talk about and bullshit about movies. If you like what you see and you want to see more of this, all you got to do is hit that like button, subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, hit that notification bell so you get notified anytime a new video is uploaded. To our audio listeners out there, we love you very deeply. If you're looking for an audio version of this episode, just type in Low Key Geek on your podcast platform of choice where you can download this and many other episodes. And if it prompts you, leave a great rating. It's just good karma all around. So, with that being said, we're not really going to talk about like movies that we've seen recently. Because I feel like you and I, without saying anything, we saw stuff, but we can't really say what we saw and all that. But there's a brand new movie that is released in theaters this week, and I'm not talking about Magic Mike. I'm talking about that new movie starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet called Titanic. Have you seen that movie yet?
That Titanic finally came out?
It's finally out. You know, this was James Cameron's like project baby that he's been keeping under wraps. After the Avatar stuff is all done, he's like, I want to do a movie about the Titanic, and it's finally out this weekend.
It's a prequel to Avatar, even though it came out after, because it's set. It's the water one but it's in the time before.
It's in our time, which is like in the past, but it's
okay.
Yeah, I think it's how the Avatar people got the idea of knowing the way of water was through the accidents of Titanic and stuff like that. And yeah,
okay.
Very fascinating.
The way of water. The captain should have learned the way of the iceberg, or he did learn the way of the iceberg. Titanic, the way of the iceberg. Yeah. Okay. James Cameron's got a fetish. We get it. You're into water.
Yeah.
Dude. You're into water sports. You like it wet. We get it. You're into that. Okay.
He loves it moist. But
True Lies fountain scene. There's
too
many. Yep. Okay.
It's unbelievable. But it is Titanic's 25th anniversary. We are slowly approaching Valentine's Day, depending on when you watch this video or when you listen to this episode. So Titanic is definitely one of those well-beloved romantic movies because of the romance between Leonardo DiCaprio and Kate Winslet. A Kate Winslet that was very new at the time and kind of introduced the world to her, basically. Leo has already done some stuff here and there, but I think this also solidified him as being kind of a quote unquote heartthrob amongst the eyes of many females at the time. When this movie first came out, I remember watching it in Times Square. Do you remember? I don't know if you would remember this, but you know the Sony Theater that's in Times Square next to the Viacom building?
Oh, yeah.
That used to be a movie theater back in the day.
Now it's just like a concert hall.
Now it's just a concert hall.
I literally saw a different podcast record there a couple years ago.
Oh, are you seriously? Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. It was a movie theater.
Yeah, it was a movie theater back in the day. One screen movie theater. Yeah, one screen movie theater. Okay. Huge space. So you can imagine how big the theater was. I've seen such movies like Rush Hour 2 there. The Crow City of Angels, which is not a movie I want to talk about really, because that movie was terrible.
So let's get into City of Angels. We're doing this today, baby.
No, let's not.
Oh my god!
But wow, that is where that's where I saw Titanic, and I was there with someone I was dating at the time. I think I was 18 or so when that movie came out, and I was not really knowing what to expect with this movie. Everyone knows the story of the Titanic. Everyone knows that it's a tragedy. So I was one of those guys who's like, well, we already know what's going to happen. So I'm just waiting for that moment to happen. But then we got, introduced to this romance story, this romantic thing, a story of kind of star-crossed lovers, two people from different walks of life meeting on this magical boat, forming this romantic bond, and then separating, because as the Titanic separated and split in two, so did their romance, because they were separated by a floating board on the ocean. But my God, did it made a huge impact in not only the hearts of women and men out there, but it made a huge impact on the movie industry, because it became one of the top grossing films of all time for a very, very long time. Only in recent years has it finally been surpassed by other movies like Marvel movies or James Cameron's own movies, which is actually pretty hilarious that it's Cameron who beats his own movies as far as top grossing films and all that. But Blake, what were your fondest memories of Titanic, if there are any? What do you remember of the movie? Does the movie kind of hold up even today? Because I don't even remember the last time I saw it, to be honest.
So, why it's a perfect Valentine's movie? Are you got a Valentine? You want a romance? You got a romance. You got a
Yeah,
Galentine anti-Valentine's Day party. You get to watch the dude die at the end.
there you go.
Everyone can go see this on Valentine's Day and be perfectly happy with how the movie goes. Would you like to imagine your ex being drowned in a boat and essentially tortured, handcuffed, and then freeze to death? Perfect movie for you. Um, I was a little too young when it came out, and
Okay.
also I had a bit of a strict background. So here's what I
Mm.
remember. I remember knowing about the legacy of the movie. I was enough of a nerd, even a movie nerd. I would watch the in the newspaper. They would
Mm.
show which movies are in which theaters, and I wasn't allowed to see that when I was waiting for it to leave theaters. Then to make room for movies I could see, and
Okay.
I was literally calculating like I knew what day it came out, and I'd marked that, and I was tracking how many weeks it'd been there. I'm sure they had a tracker somewhere, some Empire magazine. So I didn't know about that. So I just remember like being 10, 11, and just like every week being like, it's been on there for 32 weeks now. What in the world? Make room for a cool movie I can see. And then it comes out on TV. And that's when my strict upbringing, I was finally allowed to see it because back then, VHS record the TV programming of it.
Hmm.
And then mom could go back over and record over the scenes that I wasn't allowed to watch. So the
Wow.
only copy of Titanic I had seen up until a handful of years ago had no drawing scene. It was
Oh
literally
man.
VHS technology, a blue screen for a chunk of time. Long enough, I was like, Mom, where's the other VHS? I really need to know what happens to this boat. I think there's
Wow.
the. I know at one moment they ran into the parking garage, got in the back of a car, and it cut out. And as a young boy, preteen, I was like, what do people do in the back of cars? What could possibly happen next? Does he steal the car and they don't want me to see thievery? I see movies with thievery all the time.
Oh, that's
Is
so
there a dead
fascinating.
body? Yeah. So that
So
was my
you missed
experience
the
with Titanic.
foggy window handprint on the window, kind of smearing and all that. Wow, that's iconic.
Yep. Yeah. So later in life, I watched it. Was like, that was it? Really? It was. But I'm sure for certain people at a certain time in life, that was a very momentous scene. I was
Yeah.
protected from that. Don't worry. I saw it a few years ago. It was in theaters. But it was like a one-off thing, not like an anniversary
Mm.
showing. And that was cool to finally see it in a place where there's surround sound and, you know, I'd really love to see 4DX Titanic, where the theater slowly is submerged in water and it's freezing cold. That is the version I
Will
want.
the theater also split in half? Like one
Uh huh.
side is gonna be like
Yeah.
one.
Don't get the middle seats if it's date night,
No, no.
unless he messed up.
If you're
Uh,
trying to send a message, then that
yeah.
could a way to do it.
Sorry, babe.
Oh
There's not enough
man,
room on this board for both of us.
right?
Oopsie. So it's become like a meme of a movie, and it's
Yeah,
like it's more of a legacy film. And even it's I think it's one of those, even if people have never seen it and they weren't born yet, they know I'm the king of the world. They heard that or saw it on The
yeah.
Simpsons or the clip of the Oscars when that's what James Cameron yells out. They know about Mythbusters doing the could he have fit on the board, and then James Cameron did a deep dive, pardon the pun.
Yeah, and now he's
Sorry.
like revisiting that whole thing again, and like
No, not
spending.
pardoning the pun. He deep dived.
No,
He
he
did a
deep
deep
dived.
dive.
He deep dived.
He
Yeah.
did a deep dive into the deep web. Yeah. Kate Winslet and Leonardo DiCaprio have aged pretty fucking well in their careers.
Oh
There's
my
another
god,
version
it's
of this
amazing.
where
Yeah.
some news story breaks and now we can't take Titanic seriously anymore, or we're not allowed to watch it.
Right. Right.
Their careers have held up pretty damn well. We're talking about like
Oh
Oscar
my gosh,
winners.
it's unbelievable. Yeah.
It
I
doesn't get
mean,
much better when you got two teens in this epic of a movie. So
yeah.
it launched their careers, of course, but it also could have sank like a diamond in the sea. Uh, I
Hey,
think I
another
think
pun that's being
there's
used over and over again from this movie.
I think that it's a legacy movie that holds up and holds
Mhm.
water. Last pun, I
Oh
promise.
my gosh, it's like filled to the brim.
And overall, yeah, I am I haven't seen it yet. I'm excited to see it with the re-release. Just like I saw Cameron do this last year with Avatar coming back to the
Right.
theaters. I'm a sucker for this kind of thing.
Yeah,
Celebrate
especially like
movies.
it's a restoration. They're now it's in 4K. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, it's in 3D now in theaters.
Also, I heard that they're taking the board and shrinking it so that people shut the fuck up about if he could fit. It's like, yeah, it's very clearly only one person can fit on it.
Digitally
And
like editing the boards, like carve out the sides and all that. Yeah.
but then they also show her kick him off the board, so it's like
Right.
very clear she didn't want him on it
Right.
anyway.
Well, it's
Anyway,
it's more
everyone's
like
gonna be
it's more like a
happy.
mush, right? It's more like no, I'm done with you.
She goes, "Take that."
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I'll never
shh,
let go. I'll
shh.
never let go. There's
Yeah,
movies.
my heart will go on.
Oh.
Aww.
There's so many. As we're going through it, I'm gonna go see this movie for sure. This movie's legacy is eternal.
Yeah,
Like it's as quotable as Casablanca or anything else. Damn.
yeah, and
No.
plus we have to say, and it's not talked enough, the villainous role of Billy Zane.
Oh,
I mean, his character is just fascinating, and it's so hated the way he is. But talk about someone else who looks great even today. Billy Zane is looking amazing if you've seen him lately. But yeah, there's so many people in this movie. Kathy Bates, the late great Bill Paxton, who played
mm,
like kind of the more in
legend.
real life person, who they're the ones that are exploring the remains of the Titanic and all that. Victor Garber, there's so many
There's
great
a few of
people
those
in this
'90s
movie.
go-tos too that I
Yeah,
that I always love seeing. I feel like
yeah,
Victor Garber, and then what's his? I think it's Kate Winslet's dad or one of the older dudes who's just kind of like was he like the dad in Richie Rich or something like that? Like that guy.
yeah,
Jonathan Hyde. Okay, I'm just going through the cat. Yeah, I made 3 hours and 16 minutes. You know what? It's worth it. It's a pretty good movie.
yeah.
It's pretty good. Pretty good.
I think it's definitely worth a rewatch. Especially if you haven't seen it in a very long time. But yeah,
I think it might make some money at the box office. I think this one might be a
maybe,
hit.
maybe. Again, the perfect timing of Valentine's Day, literally around the corner. I'm pretty sure a lot of people are going to be going out like date nights and all that, watching this movie. Those who are probably revisiting it, and those who probably, I am sure there's tons of the younger generation who probably haven't seen this movie yet. So could you imagine the first chance watching this movie in the theater now with the technology that we have now in 3D and all that? Like that must be fascinating.
I'm terrified at the possibilities of theater submerged in water. Yeah, honestly, I'm gonna go see it. I'm excited. That's a good one. And then the other ones, I know you said we're not going to talk about other movies, but I watched a couple of these animated ones we're talking about today, getting caught up
Oh,
and doing a little bit of
nice.
homework, which I know we'll get to in a little bit. But eh,
Yeah. No,
we're
yeah,
in
I'm
we're in
excited.
Dumpuary, baby.
There it is. Yeah. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on Titanic. Was this, if you are my generation, was this a movie that you fell in love with? Is this a movie that sticks with you even today? If you are more of Blake's generation, how were you introduced to the movie for the first time? Does it still hold water today?
Um, mm,
uh,
okay.
now that will be the final bump. But yeah, we just love to know your thoughts of the movie and all that. But it is fascinating how this came out at a time when, again, Leonardo DiCaprio was somewhat of a name, but not really. And Kate Winslet was just a fresh face. She looks so different back then because she's so young. And now look at their careers now and look at all the amazing stuff that they're doing now. It is fantastic.
Their careers really rose.
Oh, that's a good one. It hurts so bad, but that's a good one. Nice.
Thank you. Okay, that was the last
Nice.
one for sure. We'll see.
Nice.
No promises.
Nice.
Okay.
But with that,
If you're 111 years old, let us know your memories of the Titanic in the comments. And if you like, was it tragic? Did you feel like, or actually older because you wouldn't remember. If you were on the Titanic, Definitely leave a note in the comments. We like
Yeah.
and subscribe. We're really glad you're here. What's up, Titanic
Yeah,
heads?
we're really glad that you learned how to use a computer and you know how to use YouTube and that you're able to watch an episode like this. So thank you so much. Yes, definitely like and subscribe. Why don't you super like? Why don't you super chat us and leave a sticker? And why don't you join the membership? Like, do all that good stuff because we definitely would love the support and all that. But that being said, let's dive into
Oh,
not deep
God,
diving.
there.
No, I wasn't gonna do it. I wasn't gonna do
You
it.
did it. You did it.
Oh, damn it. Anyway, let's go into our fun game today. So, let's explain the premise of our game. So, best animated feature. A lot of you probably don't realize, but the best animated feature category for the Oscars is fairly new. There wasn't such a category since when the Academy and when the Oscars were first released and the first inception of the ceremony and all that. So when you go back into the history of cartoons, animated film, and all that, a lot of the classic Disney stuff were only recognized for like original score, best song. Like those were the only categories that you would ever expect to see an animated film. One Disney film I believe was nominated for Best Picture at one point. I think I was that Pinocchio.
We're talking
Um,
Pinocchio
yeah,
as the kind of like the OG animated movie that's taken seriously at the Oscars. Yeah,
right. Yeah.
and
So
then
that was
it's a
like
pretty dry spell after that one.
huge. Yeah. So in order to help recognize animated film, especially since animated film, we're starting to get more and more into the forefront, more and more recognized and all that, they decided to create its own category. And the first time it was a category on its own was back in 2001. So that's only 21, 22 years ago. I mean, that's not that long. So ever since then, we've had a best animated feature film win an Oscar for this category. And since it's so new and we decided or I decided to create a game where we kind of tourney style pick out which animated film that won an Oscar for best animated feature film reigns supreme above it all. Because I'm sure if we go back into the annals of history in the 2000s, there's going to be animated movies that won that we may not think should have won, or we have different varying opinions on, and all that. So we just thought it would be like a little fun game where you create our own bracket, March Madness style, and we have these animated feature films go head to head with each other, and we see which one reigns supreme above it all. Now, this is going to be our opinions. We're going to debate on the matchups, and we're going to determine who's the winner of each round and all that. Your opinions may differ from ours, but this can lead to great conversation. So definitely let us know your thoughts in the comments section each time we go through a matchup, each time we go through a round, and let us know if you agree or you disagree with the outcomes and all that. Now, the way we set up the bracket, there's only 21 films, so it's not like a clear cut 32. So certain films had to have their own like bye weeks and all that, where they just don't go up against each other, and that's usually like in round one. The way we help determine the seeding is that Blake and we went through our favorite movie app, Letterboxd, and we used the average rating for each movie to help determine the seeds. So whatever had the average rating was the highest is number one, so on and so forth. Right? Am I missing anything, Blake? Is that's pretty much explains it, right?
No, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, you got the we call them bye weeks in this fantasy sports world. You get
Yeah.
to skip that round if you're a top seed, and so then 16 head to heads, and then everyone will, or less than that. Anyway, they'll meet up at the end. We'll see what happens when we debate these movies out and who the best animated Oscar animated. Which going back through, I was just perusing the Wikipedia. There have been
Mhm.
zero Best Picture wins. Three have been nominated for animated movies. And before this award, like before 2001, 1991, Beauty and the Beast was the only one, I guess. I really thought there had been a winner before, but fascinating
Yeah.
history here. international feature 2, documentary
Hmm.
1, nominated. I'm not about none the amount of wins outside of like song. You were absolutely correct. So I
Yeah.
just want to make sure that the record is corrected. This is an under-respected genre of film, and for good reason, which we'll get to shortly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I also thought this would be interesting because if you followed us long enough, you know that animation and animated film in general is not Blake's strong thing. Like he's not really huge into them. So I was very curious to see what kind of debates we'll have, especially in this category. So I'm sure it's gonna be surprisingly enough. I think you were kind of shocked too, like how much of these movies you actually seen, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
These are the ones mainly that broke through that were
yeah.
like, this one's actually good. This isn't just for kids, or even if it is just for kids, it's quality.
Mhm.
There is a couple exceptions, which we'll get to here in a
Oh,
minute,
sure.
also as we go through them. Just some real fucking thuds. But
Yeah.
there's some bangers on this list. I'll give you that. There are a few good animated movies in history, and you'll be taking the other side of things that animated movies are good, and one of us will be proven correct.
There you go. So with that all out of the way, let's dive into it. I'm going to share my screen now, and you're going to see the brackets here. So first one on the list we have is Spirited Away. So believe it or not, out of all the winners for Best Animated Feature Film, Spirited Away is the one with the most highest average rating on Letterboxd. I'm not personally surprised by that because again, it is a movie by Hayao Miyazaki, Studio Ghibli. It was the only Oscar that he's won as far as like the movies that he's put out there. The year that came out was in 2002. Here's the competition, and maybe you could have a discussion about this. It went up against Ice Age, the first one, Lilo and Stitch, Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron,
Stop right now. Tell me that's the one
and
that won.
no, and Treasure Planet. No, of course, Spirited Away is the winner here. But Treasure
I'm
Planet.
sorry, that's the one that should have won. I meant to say because Spirited was exclusive.
But that's the competition. Now, I think a lot
Wow.
of people, especially if you're a Disney head, would have argued that Lilo and Stitch probably should have won. Because that is a very well beloved, Disney movie. And if memory serves me correct, it's the last 2D animated movie from Disney that came out. I think after that, that's when they adopted the whole CG style, the Pixar style of things and all that. And that's kind of what shifted a lot in the animation industry. I could be wrong, but I believe that was their last one.
Well, the acting in the newest Lion King, while they tried to make it the real life, the acting was all two-dimensional. So I don't know if you're including that. Boom, roasted. Okay.
Nice. Love it. All
Got it.
right. So, since Spirited Away is ranked number one, it has a bye week for this round. So, they automatically move on to the next round. So, we're going to go ahead and do that. Next matchup, we have Rango versus Wallace and Gromit, the Curse of the
Why?
Were Rabbit. Oh
Why?
my God. Okay.
Okay.
So, some background on these two movies.
Oh no.
So, Rango was nominated in 2011. The competition we have here, and I think one of these nominees is very relevant for today. So we have A Cat in Paris, which is a movie I don't think I've ever heard of.
Remember that
Chico
one.
and Rita, Kung Fu Panda 2, and the very first Puss in Boots. So
Huh.
this was
Okay.
that was the competition, and Rango won the Oscar for that year. Um, I mean, other than Puss in Boots, I'm not sure if any of the other featured films would have really direct competition with Rango. Rango, I mean, did you like Rango? Rango was okay for me. I don't know.
Yeah, say it was like I was a Johnny Depp head at that time.
Okay,
We did not know what would happen with his career or
sure.
any interesting personal details about him. Um, I remember thinking like, oh, that was pretty good, pretty weird, weirder than I thought. We also can't forget, like, I'm sorry, we already know this one's going to
Hmm.
go through, but let's focus on Rango for now. This one's
Sure.
directed by Gore Verbinski, who
Yes,
also directed the Pirates of the
that's right.
Caribbean and The Ring.
Hmm.
So this is like a fairly celebrated movie, maybe not, greatest history of movies, but like definitely a
Yeah.
successful director at the very least.
Totally.
Yeah, I think that's kind of interesting and to be considered here, especially his work with Monsieur Depp. Um, it's got is Isla Fisher, Abigail Breslin. We got like, which is one of my favorite things about animated movies is
Hmm.
the who's playing this voice game. And
Yeah.
inevitably at the theater, I pull out, I go, oh my gosh, that is them. But this movie definitely has a good cast, a somewhat serious director. It's like a little oddball, goofy thing. The writer for Rainco wrote The Aviator, the Martin Scorsese movie,
Wow.
and Hugo wrote or helped write these. I don't know if it's co or full screenwriter, but Sweeney
Hmm.
Todd, Tim and Barbara Fleet
Okay.
Street, Skyfall, Spider. So you have an actual writer, screenwriter here.
Right.
Uh, this one is a successful movie, and it in that
Hmm.
list of nominees, it makes sense that it's a good one. It's a fine winner. It's a good one.
Yeah. I mean, I
Good.
don't disagree there. Now, we have on the other side of things Wallace and Gromit, The Curse of the Were Rabbit, which is a property that is very well known and popular in England, in Europe. I believe that's, basically their biggest one of their biggest things in modern time as far as animation and animated characters are concerned. This was nominated in 2005 and it only had two other nominees in competition with it. The Corpse
Forgot that
Bride.
used to be a thing. Did
Yeah.
they always do five now? I guess because there used to be like this year three, this year. That was
Yeah.
always wild too. Of like you just have I don't know. It was a lot more snubs back in the day too. So
Oh
sorry,
yeah.
I know that's an
And
interruption, but I
no,
can
no,
see
no.
why it wins against two other movies. Like
Sure.
what are
But
they?
but but again, the two other movies in my opinion are a little bit more not highbrow, but I think would have been in deep conversation today,
Mhm.
you know, over back in 2005, and that was The Corpse Bride, which was you had Tim Burton attached to that. This was the other movie he made after The Nightmare Before Christmas. I believe this was his second stop motion animated film that he
Wait,
worked on.
is there a weird? Is because I know Johnny Depp is Tim Burton's boy. Isn't is Johnny Depp? Yeah, okay. It's
Yes, he
Johnny Depp and
is.
Helena Bonham Carter. So is he? No, okay.
Totally.
I'm sorry. That's Ringo.
You're
I was
thinking of
like, is he
Rango.
going
Yeah,
against
yeah,
himself
yeah.
now? Okay, yep. All right,
Different
we're back
years
over
and different
Wallace and
years. Yeah,
Gromit.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
so robbed. Yeah, we're gonna go and say Corpse Bride. It's obviously better than this trash. Okay.
And the second one who was nominated outside of these two was Howl's Moving Castle, another Hayao Miyazaki movie, Studio Ghibli. My own personal favorite movie of his that ever came out. Um, so, in my opinion, you have two better quality movies
Oh yeah, they
over
split
Wallace and
votes.
Gromit.
Gotta be.
Exactly.
Gotta
Exactly.
be.
Yeah.
Which I love
Yeah.
when the Oscars are like, let's award the worst movie because the good movie split votes. That's always a
Right.
cool system to have in place.
Yeah.
Jeez. I can't talk about Wallace and Gromit. That's not a serious like.
Yeah.
Honestly, the animation style is like, oh, claymation is that what it's called, right? Like, oh,
Yeah.
cool, they
Hmm.
did a different thing. It looks a little different than some of the other ones.
Yeah.
Like Tim Burton's, that's also the case, and Miyazaki, that's also the case in their own
Hmm.
right. So that year it doesn't make sense. But in the year where it's like Pixar's, there's four Pixar looking movies and one that's actually like an artfully done or
Hmm.
Flea or I'm like a fan of like A Waking Life, kind of like they
Sure.
do a take on it, a unique style of animation, which some people debate if those are even animation, whatever.
Yeah.
All that aside, the claymation, sure, that's cool. Was it entertaining or good? No, that
I
oh,
couldn't get into it. I remember I
no.
saw it. I don't even remember most of it to be honest with you. I just couldn't get into it. So I think we're in agreement here. Rango is the one to move
Rain
on.
go,
Yeah,
rain go. It's
Rango.
gonna rain go on to the next round.
Ayo. Nice. All right. Next one we have here is Shrek. Now, Shrek was seated, if I remember correctly. Let me just look here real quick.
It was a little bit lower than I thought
Nine.
it would
Yeah,
be.
Shrek
Yeah.
was ninth on the list, but since it is top 10, it does have its own bye week, so they automatically move on to the next round. Now, Shrek, a little bit history of Shrek there. Shrek was in 2001, nominated in 2001 when the category was first introduced. So it's part of the inauguration of this animated feature film category, which is great. The competition it had was Jimmy Neutron, Boy Genius, and Monsters Inc. Now, I think a lot of people would
Hmm.
argue Monsters Inc. would have been probably the
Hmm.
more favored one if you had the
Hmm.
conversation today, I think.
I'm glad that's not the
Um
debate we're having because
no.
that would be a long one. Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. But again, you look back now, which is a movie that is probably more often watched over and over again. And I think maybe I would argue Monsters Inc. is probably the one. But then Shrek became so popular, it had its own musical Broadway production that lasted for years and years and years. So, it just shows you the popularity of Shrek from back then. So yeah, so that's a little bit history there of that movie, and that I don't know. I mean, well deserved win for that Oscar that year.
I mean, it's going to be hard to say over Monsters Inc. That said,
Yeah,
I was at the exact age where Shrek hit correctly. The way that,
yeah,
like, last year, the Minions teens were out in full
sure,
force at the theater. I was
sure.
of the Shrek generation. And now Shrek's had a longer life than Monsters Inc. in ways where he's kind of been memeified. And not to mention just that, but like the sequels of it all, to where
Hmm.
in this year's Oscars, there is a Shrek spin-off sequel
Yeah,
with Puss in Boots that is a contender at the least for animated feature. So I think
yeah,
the legacy of Shrek holds up better than Legacy of Monsters Inc. Is one of them a more touching and sweet and like successful film for the family? Sure. But I understand the phenomenon of Shrek. And I definitely understand it since I was, what, 14 or so when this came out.
right.
I was fully a Smash Mouth fan, unironically. At that time in my life, I was like, "Wait, the new Smash Mouth song's in this movie? Hell
Right.
yeah!" And also, I do think in certain ways, Shrek was an innovator. I'm making my case for Shrek now. I'm not just
Okay.
talking about it.
Okay.
It was an innovator because since then we've seen more of the movies that are adult jokes for adults that are snuck into the
True.
kids movie. So
Hmm.
now parents are okay with watching it 8,000 times on
True.
repeat, or at least more okay. And in the theater, I remember literally everyone in the audience is enjoying it. I've been to plenty of animated movies where the parents are having a terrible time,
Yeah, oh yeah. Yep.
and then the kids are having a great time, which makes the parents have an even worse time.
Yeah.
This one, plus using like the iconic property, like Monsters Inc. is a more original story, but
Mhm.
this one's using like iconic fairy tales that everybody knows. This
Right.
is a pretty smart populist take on like what an animated movie can be, and we've seen a lot more of these since then, even outside of the Shrekiverse or whatever we're calling it.
The Shrek reverse. I love it. That's nice. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And again, I think that's one of the brilliance of like DreamWorks animation at the time. They were willing to take those risks, and be more of like, ride that fine line between good enough for kids, but also good enough for adults, right? That they could like really get into. Plus, the voice casting here is amazing. You have Mike Myers, Eddie Murphy.
Amazing cast.
Yeah, I forget who Fiona
I
was again. It
also
was a um
Cameron Diaz, and then you've
Cameron
got
Diaz.
John
That's it.
Lithgow
Yeah, yeah.
also
Hmm.
there. Um, what I didn't realize, because we're looking into these movies, some of them I'm unearthing since I was, whatever, 14 years old.
Hmm.
Chris Farley was the original Shrek and had recorded most of the dialogue before passing, which is fascinating because it doesn't
That's
come out until a few years
right.
later.
Yeah.
Release the Farley cut. What are we doing? Did they
Hashtag it.
delete the file?
That's it.
Hashtag Farley cut.
Hashtag it.
I'm not
Yeah.
kidding. I really do want to see that. That would be fascinating for a
That would
movie that
be
has such a
great.
legacy
Yeah.
and an actor who passed away way too young and didn't have enough movies on his credits because he could have had 20 more classics. I want to see what it's like, unless if it sucks or it's impossible or something. But I want to Farley cut, Farley cut,
I would be
Farley cut.
really, really, yeah, that would be fascinating. And there should be like a special Blu-ray release that has it as part of like the unlockable tracks or something like that. Yeah,
Oh,
release that
yeah.
shit. Come on.
Another fun fact, and then I can move on from the
Yeah.
Shrek love. It was nominated for adapted screenplay at the
Oh,
Oscars, and it won adapted screenplay at the BAFTAs. That is wild.
wow.
How many times has that happened for an animated movie? I mean, and there's a lot of animated movies that are based on fairy tales or folklore, or
Right.
Disney's done 7 versions of their own movie at this
Hmm.
point. Might as well be like the Spider-Man situation over at Sony or whatever's going
Right.
on there. Um, but that's interesting. That speaks to the writing of it, because I remember what I don't know. It's hard to go back, but when you're 14, Shrek hits for
Yeah.
sure. Maybe it didn't age so well. This makes me think it probably did. That the writing at least holds up, because it was a clever, well acted, well done, all that. It was, yeah. It's an actual like quality piece of work. Okay,
Yeah. No,
interesting.
I'm glad you looked it up because I didn't know. I don't remember that. So that's amazing. Cool. So moving on to the next round here, you got Finding Nemo. Now, Finding Nemo was ranked number 8, so it does have its own bye week there.
Wait,
So they
Shrek? Did we decide Shrek's the winner there?
Shrek had a bye week because it
Oh,
was
thank you. Okay. Yeah.
yeah. But some history on Finding Nemo. So Finding Nemo. Let me just pull up the information here. Where are you, Finding Nemo? I'll get it. Where are you?
I'm
I'm
gonna cut
trying
out
to
for one
find
second while
Nemo.
you talk Nemo. Okay,
Oh yeah, yeah,
I'll be
sure.
right back.
Yeah.
Feel free to make water
Um.
puns for this one too if you want.
So Finding Nemo came out in 2003. That's when it was nominated. Came out in 2002. It only had two other nominees in competition here. So we had Brother Bear, which I believe was Disney. Brother Bear was Disney. So it's like Disney on Disney. And now I remember that this had a lot of talk that year it was nominated. The Triplets of Belleville. Now the Triplets of Belleville, I believe, ended up winning. I believe Oscar for let's see, for original song. Yeah. Or was it nominated? Let's see. Nominated. It was nominated for original song. Yeah. And I remember that that was a huge talking point of that year, because a lot of people fell in love with that song that year. So that's why Triplets of Belleville was really huge talk during that time. So yeah, so it was another year where it was only 3 nominees for that category, but that's also because back then you didn't really have always a lot of animated feature films coming out during the year. Now it's almost like every other month we get one, right? If not every other month during the summer. So, competition obviously is bigger now than it was back then. So yeah, Finding Nemo goes ahead and moves on from there. So yeah, you had Pixar and Disney going head to head, but I think Brother Bear is one of those Disney movies that a lot of people just forgot about, right? You don't hear a lot of people talking about Brother Bear these days, unlike Finding Nemo. So there you go. You have Finding Nemo moving on to the next round. Next round,
Congratulations. Just keep swimming,
just keep
Nemo.
that's it. Just
Just
keep
keep
swimming.
swimming.
Yeah. Next round we have Wally. Now Wally is ranked number 5, so it does have its own bye week as well. So it moves on to the next round automatically. Wally was nominated in 2008. This was also another year that it only had 3 nominees for this category. Its other competition was Bolt, a Disney movie, and
Oh
Kung
yeah.
Fu Panda, the very first Kung Fu Panda, which was DreamWorks, I believe. So, not that big of a competition there. I think Wally kind of wins out overall, in my
We
opinion.
got 100% of the votes, or except maybe the guy who worked on Kung Fu Panda. I don't know.
The one
Jack Black's
guy,
probably not in the
yeah,
academy yet. Never mind
yeah,
that. I
no,
don't know.
yeah, or it's a relative. It's like, oh yeah, my cousin worked on this, so I have to nominate that. Yeah.
Yeah. And the cousin was like,
Um,
"Don't. No, no, don't.
yeah,
That's
yeah, like
Wally
no,
for
yeah, pick your
sure."
battles. Don't pick this one. But we moving on to the next round. So we finally have a head to head here, and this is going to be an interesting one. So we have Happy Feet versus Inside Out.
Hmm.
So Happy Feet. I'll give you
Oof.
some history on Happy Feet. The one thing I can tell you about Happy Feet off the top of my head, because I know this because it shocks a lot of people, it was directed by the same guy who did Mad Max, George Miller, which
That's
not a lot of
right.
people know that. Yeah.
I thought
So
it was
it's
directed by Quentin Tarantino because of the whole feet
because
thing.
Happy Feet. I get
Yeah,
it
yeah,
now.
yeah. He was originally going
Ha
to, then he was
ha.
like, "I need another." Also, with the cast here, Elijah Wood,
Oh
late
yeah,
period
Robin
Robin
Williams.
Williams,
Yeah,
Brittany Murphy, Hugh Jackman, Nicole
yeah.
Kidman, Go Weaving. It's really good. Like that's
Oh
a
yeah,
solid ass cast.
yeah.
Okay.
A great cast, great director. Obviously, it was nominated in 2006. This is a year only three nominees were in this category. It went up against Cars, which I'm sure is a lot of people's favorite Pixar movie, and Monster House. If you remember Monster House, like that was like that DreamWorks movie. I believe it was DreamWorks. It's funny. Every year at this time in the early inception of the category, you could always expect to be one Pixar movie, one Disney movie, and a
Hmm.
DreamWorks movie in there.
Hmm.
So it's like those were the big studios competing head to head all the time. But yeah,
A
Happy
lot of
Feet won out
those
on that.
movies
So
were not good, and it's almost like, oh,
right.
congratulations, you have a studio backing you. We'll give you a nomination.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I think it's worth mentioning, maybe like Brittany Murphy, another passed too soon. This is
Yeah.
the last, at least on the like Brittany Murphy is known for movies
Mm-hmm.
on her list. There were technically movies that came out afterward, but um, and she also is singing in this movie, and I think
Right.
this one's nominated for song, or at least I remember this music being damn catchy for this one. So
Mm-hmm.
okay, Happy Feet's got a pretty solid stat sheet.
No, for sure. And then moving on to Inside Out.
Yeah, it's another good
Inside
one.
Out was nominated back in 2015. Its competition of that year was Anomalisa. I'm not
Hmm.
quite familiar with that
Oh,
movie.
yeah, that's a Blake movie.
Oh,
It's a
that
weird
is
one.
okay.
It's a weird.
Nice.
Yes, I think it's Charlie Kaufman directed it or wrote it. Yeah, it's a
Okay. Oh
it's
yeah,
a
Charlie
weirdy.
Kaufman is yeah part of this.
It was
Yeah.
upsetting to a lot of people who saw it. It's not
Oh,
like other animated movies. It's pretty bizarre and weird and at times disturbing. But definitely should have won over Inside Out, obviously. But whatever. People like
you
bad
also
movies.
right. You also have A Boy and the World nominated here. Shaun the Sheep movie. Talking about Wallace and Gromit. That's like this is like
Gosh,
the stepsister
I
or stepchild of that
yeah.
whole thing. And When Marnie Was There, another Studio Ghibli movie that got a nomination for that for this year for that particular year. So I think and I remember When Marnie Was There. It's not one of my favorite Studio Ghibli movies. It's pretty, but story wise, it was pretty dull. So again, not surprised that Inside Out was the clear cut winner here. That out of the way, Happy Feet versus Inside Out. Who do you got for this one?
Here's the problem. I think Inside Out went against better competition, which if you think about it like playoffs, like it took a
Mm-hmm.
beating in its prior round,
Yeah.
whereas Happy Feet kind of sails through. Also, I had a friend who had a 3-year-old when Happy Feet came out on DVD. And all I know is that whenever I went over to their house during that time, it was, when I say repeat, it's just like the stereotype. It was from the moment I walked in until I left, it was Robin Williams doing his whole Happy Feet thing. So I think of that movie as miserable God, please make this stop feet instead of Happy Feet. Also, Inside Out did something cute with the psychology of it all, right? And
Yes.
like the feelings are real. And there's also the Meg Ryan factor, which I'm a little biased to. Wait, is Meg Ryan? Uh, Hold on. Meg Ryan came up in one version of casting, but not this one. So maybe I'm wrong there. But we do
Yeah,
have
no.
Amy
Amy
Poehler,
Poehler.
Bill
Mhm.
Hader, Mindy Kaling, Lewis Black. These are more my kind of folks. Late period Brittany Murphy and Robin Williams is interesting. I'm pretty torn here. This is your category. I think I'm gonna
Mhm.
let you decide which one is better. My gut
Okay.
says Inside Out, but honestly, I could go either way.
Okay. I'll help make the decision for you right now. Bing Bong. What happened to Bing Bong in
Okay.
Inside Out was one of the most heartbreaking moments on film that I've ever seen. To have your imaginary friend that
Yeah.
you've known for so long completely vanish out of thin air, out of existence.
Oof. Yeah, that moment. That was a
Tears
moment.
all
You're right.
throughout the audience. That was just heartbreaking. So, Inside Out
It's
is my vote for
deeper.
this.
It's
Yeah.
better. It is. I think Happy Feet's a fun, entertaining romp and
Mhm.
like a successful animated family film. Inside Out is more success. Is like a better quality movie. I think
Yeah.
that I feel pretty comfortable saying that one.
The one thing I will say though, like Happy Feet did have that message of environment, the ozone effect, all that stuff like that. But it was very, very hidden. It wasn't really so much in the forefront. But it was definitely more in a play of just being fun and entertaining and all that. I mean, compared to the emotions that you got from Inside Out, I feel confident in saying Inside Out is the clear cut winner here.
Yeah, and I also think the other problem with it, with Inside Out, the music is kind of copied over,
Mm-hmm.
um, or at least there are like popular songs in there, so it's less original in a way, and it's more of the happy-go-lucky one. You're right about the environment. There's also like a queer subtext of Happy Feet, where he's kind of like the
Right.
weirdo that stands out, and we
Yeah.
get that in a
Yeah.
good amount of animated movies.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a tough one. I think this is the toughest one we've seen so far. It is going to get tougher from here, so
Oh
we're
yeah.
gonna have to figure out how to make some pretty difficult decisions. But I think you and I are right. I give the edge to Inside Out just for any number of like small reasons.
Well, there you go. So Inside Out moves on to the next round. The next matchup we got Big Hero 6 versus Brave. So, some background here on the nominees. So, Big Hero 6 was nominated back in 2014. Its competition of that year was The Box Trolls, How to Train Your Dragon 2, Song of the Sea, and The Tale of the Princess Kaguya. So it's a mixed field here for sure. So very, very interesting that Big Hero 6 was the clear cut winner above all of these. I don't know if I would necessarily agree with that. If you had this discussion today, I have a strong feeling that maybe a lot of people who are big animated heads would probably go with How to Train Your Dragon 2 above this.
What really?
I think so. Yeah,
You and I
I have a
come to
strong
this
feeling.
category
Yeah.
from different angles. You have more of an expertise on what the animated fans like.
Hmm.
Um, I know that I liked Big Hero 6 and I
Oh, I
didn't
did
like
too.
the other one.
Yeah.
So that's what it comes down to for me. I have my own little biases in these categories, so that's interesting though. I didn't realize that that would be the more beloved one for
Yeah.
the animation heads, whatever you guys call
Yeah. That.
yourselves.
Well, I don't know if
Sorry,
that's
nerds. You're called nerds. Yeah,
geeks, freaks,
yeah,
whatever you want to
yeah,
call it. Yeah.
yeah.
Um, Brave was nominated back in 2012. Its competition there, another Tim Burton classic, Frankenweenie, Paranorman, The Pirates in an Adventure with Scientists, Peter Lord. Oh, this was Lord and Miller fame. So he was part. He was part of that movie. Peter Lord. Okay, and to my surprise, Wreck It Ralph, which lost out to Brave, which I don't know. In my opinion, I would have probably chosen Wreck It Ralph that year. I'm not sure, but
Aren't you a little biased? Is it Wreck-It Ralph
well,
more via the you of it
yeah,
all and
yeah,
not
yeah,
the brave of it all? I'm
yeah.
not saying anything wrong with it. I'm just saying maybe Brave is better. Here's the problem with this one for me is I have to choose Big Hero 6 because I saw that one and did not see Brave as a 30-year-old man who at that point was single and didn't have anyone to go with and didn't want to just like be. And that is a problem I've had a few times. I remember one time I had a
Yeah.
sick day and there were no movie. I'd seen every other movie out, which is something I do. And then I was like,
Hmm.
it was like oh 07, oh 08. It was like the Winnie the Pooh movie came out, and I was like,
Okay.
I'll go see that. I'm not feeling. And this was back when you were okay going in public when you were sick
Yeah.
before science had won out. And I was just
Hmm.
sitting in front of the theater, just kind of like sniffling a little bit and watching Winnie the Pooh, and it's just like a bunch of children. I'm like, okay, this is fine. I'm gonna just a grown college student on a sick day while so anyway, I did not see. In this category, though, it is always like the when do I go see this movie? And my
Hmm.
goal is always the latest showing on a weeknight possible, because that's like the school night time, and at least it won't be ruined by the chaos of the family,
Yeah.
whatever. Might not be as authentic of an experience. I don't know. That's all. It's some aside the point. I have to choose Big Hero 6. I'm gonna abstain though because I have not seen Brave and I know
Hmm.
I should. I'm gonna say yeah. So I'm gonna let you just take over from here. I
Okay.
genuinely love Big Hero 6. That's all I. That's all I do know that much.
Yeah, no, Big Hero 6 was fun. It was definitely a fun and entertaining movie. Brave, again, another fun and entertaining movie, but in my personal opinion, not one of Pixar's best. And I love Pixar. Pixar, they've put out so much bangers out, especially in the past. But I think even if you were to ask a lot of the big fans of Pixar, they would even say that Brave is probably not their top five. Top 10, I don't know. So my vote here for moving on to the next round would go to Big Hero 6, in my opinion.
Okay,
So
congratulations to
there you
to
go.
the Big Hero.
Big Hero 6 moves on to the next round. Next matchup, we have another bye, and that's Coco, because Coco was ranked number 4 on this list here. So a little background history on Coco. Coco was nominated back in 2017. Its competition of that year was The Boss Baby, The
Okay.
Breadwinner, Ferdinand, and Loving Vincent.
Oh,
Yeah.
hated fucking Vincent. Don't get me
Yeah.
started.
Yeah.
The movie I should have liked is like the artsy one. No, I would have rather watched a still painting.
Yeah.
I forgot about the breadwinner. That's interesting, but okay. There's been a few of those, and I'm thinking of Persepolis also, which is like a more political
Hmm.
movie. Interesting. Okay. Um,
So we have Coco moving on to the next round there.
Definitely. Congratulations
Uh
for winning the
yeah,
Oscar.
good job. Next matchup, we have another bye week here because it's Ratatouille. And Ratatouille was ranked number 3 on Letterbox average ratings there. The background history on Ratatouille. Ratatouille was nominated back in 2007. Its competition, and funny you mentioned it, was Persepolis and Surf's Up that year. So Ratatouille beat out those two movies. I think that was the clear cut winner, in my opinion, if you were to ask
Mm,
me.
Great. Honest question. Did you see Persepolis?
No, I can honestly tell
Okay.
you that I had not.
Here's
Yeah.
here's exactly where you and I are coming from different places. I
Yeah.
did see
Hmm.
Persepolis. I did not see Ratatouille. I was cramming for this episode. I'm about an hour into Ratatouille so far. Let me just say, Persepolis, much better, higher quality film. Ratatouille, not realistic whatsoever, but it did also give birth to Raccacoonie from Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Hell yeah.
So now I'm thinking maybe I do like its legacy, but also it's stupid.
Hmm.
So Persepolis good, Ratatouille stupid. Persepolis should have won. I remember even that year being like upset, like this stupid mouse cook chef.
Hmm.
Right now, it's up to you. If there's a twist in Ratatouille, do you want to spoil it for me? Because I'm about to get to it, and you could just watch. I'll let you spoil it right now and get a live reaction.
Where are you in the movie?
Um, so stupid. The rat just learned it can pull a man's hair to make its body do whatever he wants, which that technology should not exist.
Okay.
That is disgusting. The
Hmm.
moral implications of that are nightmarish, and I hope no one
Hmm.
learns how to do that to my hair. I'll tell you that much.
Again, especially you and I living in New York, the last thing we need is for one of the rats to come out from the
That's
sewer
controlling the people.
and yeah.
Yeah. Which so basically I got to the Raccacoonie scene where I'm like, oh, I get Raccacoonie now. Okay.
Got it. Well, that's a great scene to stop at because now you get the reference, right, from what Everything Everywhere All at Once was doing.
Uh-huh. Yeah, now I have to watch another fucking hour of a stupid rat cook. I'm sorry. I do have a problem when things are so fantastical and not realistic. This is where I'll use. This is the moment where
Here's
talk
the
about
rant.
this.
Here's the
This is
rant.
why
Here we go.
animated movies are not very good. Is because they're so not believable. They're fucking stupid a lot of the times. I watched Spirited Away last night, which is the number one rated movie here. And I'm sitting there going like, what is a stink monster? How does this work? The science doesn't add up. A lot of fantastical creatures that don't make any sense. You don't get to just make up whatever you want, and because you're good at drawing, congratulations, you have a successful film. Here's $1 million. Go spend too much time in a dark room drawing this out, and then getting actors spending time in separate dark rooms recording the audio. And it wasn't that compelling. It was absurd. Like, I get it that like the Alice in Wonderland is a great movie and cool, and like there are good animated movies, but I really just want it to be a little bit based in reality. So like you're gonna see a bias come out. I'm gonna be a bigger fan of Big Hero 6, of Wall-E, of things that like physics apply, and like the things that give us uh the world, and there is rational things, and like there are stakes at hand. But it's my same problem with like the Harry Potter of it all. If I'm just like, my lightning strike is faster, stronger than your lightning strike, and we're just gonna in the air with nothing around, like, cool, you're just playing make believe and you have a really big budget. So Ratatouille is not realistic. Like, so I'm watching this movie, and I've had a friend who had this problem with all movies. He's like, that's not how the world works. You don't get to chop between scenes, and things take much longer than they do. And it's as if every movie was unrealistic, and like, dude's brain was broken in that way. My brain is broken to where I think fantasy and most animated movies, because they're fantastical in their own little way, which is why it's a cool genre to exist. It gets to do things physically that you can't do, especially before CGI world, that you couldn't really do. There are some stories that have to be told in an animated way. That said, they're stupid, and I'm an adult, and I don't have childhood bedtime stories read to me. I don't think that Dr. Seuss stories are real, and I have a hard time taking animated movies seriously.
Blake's opinions are of his own. It does not represent the opinions and feelings of the Low Kiki channel, therefore. Um,
Why, why was every character and scene in Spirited Away covered in paint? That doesn't make any sense. The real world, like, if I was just covered in paint and then had
mhm.
like three arms and I was floating in the sky, and like I'm a magical creature from another realm. And yeah, sure, people believed. I remember looking at the wiki for it. It was like 100 years ago, people believed in these creatures, and now we don't. I was like, yeah, no, I know. That's why this movie's stupid. I have liked one Studio Ghibli so far of all the ones I've seen, and it's the Wind Also Rises, the war era
Oh my god.
science-based movie about the history of flight or whatever. That one was cool. All the other ones are just so make believe. It's silly, right? Like, it's a silly genre of movie. Am I wrong? You at least see the silliness, right?
I mean,
You're
it
not
can
gonna
be
watch.
silly, but at the same time, I mean, there's a lot of animated films that do really well with great storytelling and character building and all that
For
stuff
sure.
like that. I mean,
There's
yes,
about five.
you're
There's a
going
few.
to have animated movies that are ridiculous and that just don't make any sense, and it's just there for kids entertainment, and that's all. But you there is an argument to be had that animated films can be serious and can be really well done and all that. And I think that's why these days animated film is very different compared to how it was in the past, where we just got a lot of crap
Yeah.
back then.
There are better
But
ones nowadays. Like, I've seen
oh
Four and
yeah,
the Five Armies just on my own because they were good
yeah.
movies. I'll give you that. There are some good ones, or at the very least, like, not crap. What movie are we talking about again?
Yeah, again, I love how a discussion about Ratatouille has spawned onto the crazy Blake rant of how animated film cannot be taken seriously.
So just tell me, spoil the movie about the rat who controls a man and they follow their dreams, and the rat that was outcast from his colony learns how to cook by watching TV. I've never seen a rat watch TV once in my life.
All right,
For
so
the
just so,
record,
so just
yeah.
real quick, and again, for
Mhm.
those of you who probably have not seen Ratatouille, I'm about to
Everyone's seen it
spoil
but
it.
me at
Real,
this point, I
yeah,
think.
okay. So the main crux of the movie happens towards the end, where there's this really prestigious food critic, that they want to impress at this restaurant. Of course, you have Remy, who wants to be a chef, and then you have everyone wants their dream of pleasing people and being chefs and all that stuff like that, right? So they combined forces to come up with this one amazing dish that wowed the critic, made it wowed him so much that it reminded him of his childhood and how his mom used to be able to cook that same dish that they were able to make. And he had this euphoric moment where he all of a sudden, gave the place amazing rating and word of mouth and all that. And you have the human. The human was named Remy, or was the rat named Remy?
Rat is definitely named Remy
Okay,
for sure. Yeah,
it's
and
been a while
the
since
human
I've
is
seen
named
this, so
Redhead Skinny Guy.
okay, yeah. So that dude
Hmm.
ends up becoming a chef, the way he wants to be. The rat is just happy that he was able to fulfill his dream and all that stuff. And I think they're still together, or if I remember correctly, I don't know. But that's the main idea of the whole movie. That's basically that was like the crux of it all. Was just living your dream, doing what you've always dreamed of doing, and actually accomplishing it to a certain extent. Yeah.
Okay, so the character's name is Alfredo Linguini. So on one hand, this
That's
movie
right.
sounds
Okay.
like a beautiful story, and on the other hand, it's fucking stupid. The human lead is Alfredo Linguini being controlled by a rat making cool food, who the rat is passionate about. I'm sure it's a beautiful moment when the critic. God, this is so
It
stupid.
is.
I can't even
It,
take it
it is.
seriously. I
I
know,
will
and
have to
people were
say,
like,
yeah,
"Wait till that moment." It's so. Oh, it made me so emotional.
so well done. So well done.
But the movie's about a fucking rat food chef. Sure. Okay, cool. I'm great. I'm glad that one got a buy for being the third best animated movie of the last 21 years. What in the hell are we doing? Okay.
All right. Well, moving on to the next matchup. Thanks again for that awesome rant. That's gonna make a great clip out for sure. Um, you have two movies that. Oh, this is gonna be an interesting matchup right here. All right. So you have Frozen versus Zootopia. All right. So a little history on these two behemoths here. Frozen was nominated in 2013. That year, it was nominated along with The Croods, Despicable Me 2, Ernest and Celestine, and The Wind Rises. Again, another Hayao Miyazaki Studio Ghibli movie. Wind Rises, I remember that movie. Again, beautiful, but definitely not one of its best. Um, Frozen, of course, spawned off the replayability and repeated song "Let It Go" that you could not escape that year. That song was everywhere. Even so much so that even when I went to Japan, they were playing their version of that song on the
Wow.
radio, and you really could not escape the phenom that
Couldn't let
was
it go.
Frozen. You couldn't let it
Yeah.
go at all.
It's frozen in your
So
head.
it's
Okay.
frozen in time and always frozen in the annals of everyone's minds and memories. Let it go.
Yeah.
So again, not surprised that that won that year. Zootopia was nominated in 2016, along with this is all right. I'm a little upset here.
Oh no.
Kubo and the Two Strings, Moana, My Life as a Courgette, and The Red Turtle. Do you remember The Red Turtle? Have you
What
seen that
year?
movie?
What year was this?
This was 2016.
2016 Oscar. I haven't heard of a couple of these. I'm gonna be honest.
The Red Turtle
Uh,
was like this very very cute movie that was it's a Japanese
oh
movie.
yeah,
Yeah.
I do remember that one. Okay, and you're
Yeah.
thinking Kubo should have won, or what are you mad about?
Kubo 100% should have won because it's Leica. That studio is so good with their stop motion animation. This movie was groundbreaking in so many different ways. It was so well done. So I'm a little upset that it lost out. I don't even remember this year. That's fascinating to me. And that's Zootopia, and it won over Moana too. Talking about hit songs, I mean Moana was big in the year before, with all the soundtrack and all
Yeah,
that.
what's the deal there? This should be Moana versus Frozen in my mind. I'm sure you're going to say Kubo's
Yeah,
better. It's
yeah.
about magical origami and
Hmm.
the healing properties of, I don't know. Looks, sorry, this is offensive. It looks dumb. Um, what is my life as a cork? Anyway,
I don't know
uh,
what that is. Yeah.
it's interesting. I honestly don't even remember that one. Um, Zootopia is worse than Frozen, right? Like we both agree that the movie with the talking snowman is somehow better than the other movie. Is that fair to say?
No. If I were to,
Are
I
you?
think this is the first debate I think we're gonna have here. I would say Zootopia is better than Frozen, in my opinion, and let me explain why. Because
Wow.
in Zootopia took a
Huh.
lot of in real life tropes as humans and transferred it into the animal world. And I thought it was very smart in many ways in portraying our life in society, but
Mhm.
through a point of view of animals. And I thought it was
Okay.
very quirky and very funny. Everyone knows the whole sloth scene at the DMV, which I thought was is
Huh.
brilliant take on
Yep.
all that stuff. So if you were to talk about my sense of humor, Zootopia definitely speaks highly more to that. Frozen, I didn't see it when it came out that year. It took me many years to finally watch it because I just refused because that song, I hated that fucking song.
Okay.
That song was
That's
just
so
like
funny.
it was like an earwig to me. I just did not have want to do anything with Frozen. And then when I finally saw it, I'm like, it's all right. It's cute. It's not, it's definitely not, maybe I'm too old for it too. I feel like, that's the type of movie that really speaks more to kids or to a younger
Right.
generation than a Zootopia. Because Zootopia is one of those movies that I think adults can really relate and find funny and I don't understand.
I'm gonna make a case here, and again,
Sure.
if you really want Zootopia, no, I'm not gonna let you have it. So I'm gonna be Frozen is clearly on the legacy, like how beloved it is, how important it is, how it broke through. Frozen is clearly the answer there. Zootopia has the good sloth scene. I had to look it up. I was like, oh, right, this is a pro cop movie, apparently. Well, let's leave that to the side. Um, you described what makes Zootopia great is that they have the animals body human dynamics and like that's just it's called anthropomorphizing and it's just every animated movie ever. Cool, we have in Frozen we have a snowman doing that too. It's great. That's just like what like Finding Nemo and Madagascar and Rio and just like the amount of animated movie Lion King where they tell a human story through animals. Like you could have just told the human story. Sorry, that's beside the point. We're not debating whether animated movies should exist.
Oh,
But
we
if
already
what
did
you
that
like
already.
about Zootopia, yeah, I know. If what you like about Zootopia is that it does what all the other movies do, and that's what made it special, I'm going to go and say that doesn't make it special. Here's what makes Frozen special. One, it broke through way further than Zootopia
Sure.
did. Two, John Travolta at the Oscars introducing Adina
Oh my
Menzel
God. All right.
and flubbing it so damn hard. Adela Dazeem, I think is how he said it. And to the point where at this point in my life, I've used the Adina Menzel name generator multiple
Sure.
times. We also have Adina Menzel, who not only is in the original cast of Wicked, which I saw on Broadway. What's up? He's like a legend in the Broadway world and
Mhm.
is in Uncut Gems. So she's icon status for sure. Josh Gad, who originates a role in Book of Mormon
Sure.
and is most
Ooh, we have
famously
Broadway people in this animated film. Ooh.
Josh Gad is now more famously known as Olaf. Jonathan Groff, who originates King George on Broadway. I'm just saying we got bona fide here.
Ooh,
And
Broadway.
those aren't even the star of the movie. The star of the movie would be Kristen Bell. And if you want a hot sloth clip, you got the Zootopia clip and you got Kristen Bell reacting to a sloth video on Ellen, I think it was. And holy shit, the Kristen Bell one is pretty damn fantastic too. Plus, and then I'm going to address my case. Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez do the music for Frozen, and that's an EGOT situation. That is Robert Lopez, the only person to have won all 4 awards more than once, having won 2 Oscars, 3 Tonys, 3 Grammys, 4. I'm just they did Avenue Q,
Sure.
Book of
Yeah.
Mormon, Coco, Frozen 2. I'm just saying the bona fides of Frozen are better, and it has had a more significant impact. And yes, you may have found it annoying. I'm so sorry. That stinks, but it is objectively the correct choice, Frozen. What's your case for Zootopia other than that the animals talk?
All right, fine. No. Look, yeah, you get this one because again, if you were to talk about legacy and affect, at the end of the day, this is a pop culture channel. If you want to talk about the effect of pop culture that Frozen had, it was humongous. Again, you could not get away from the songs, the music, the movie. It spawned a sequel, 2 sequels, right? Yeah, there's a Frozen 3, tons of spin-offs. And it's very reminiscent to how a lot of people are saying like the golden age of Disney animation was when Little Mermaid came out, Beauty and the Beast, Lion King. This
Aladdin,
kind of
all just back
Aladdin,
to backs. Dang it, that's when I was
Frozen.
a young Disney child. That
Yeah,
was a
that's
great
like
time to
the
be alive.
golden
A great
age
time to be
of
5 years
yeah,
old. Yeah.
100%. I have a niece was that same age too, and every year a new Disney film came out. That's her bedroom. It's just wall to wall that movie. So Frozen, I think, is safe to say that it returned that feeling again of how momentous those films had an effect on kids and everything. So yes, I will bow down to the powers of Frozen, and I will say Frozen definitely does trump Zootopia, and we'll move on to the next round from here. Very well done. Nice arguments. It's going to come back to bite you in the ass later on.
I'm so excited to drop Frozen on the next one. I already know what's going to happen. It's no problem. I'm happy to let it. I'm happy to let it go.
Let it go. Hey. All right. Next matchup, we have another bye week here because it's Toy Story 3. And Toy Story 3 was ranked number 11 on the list there. So, background about Toy Story 3. That was nominated back in 2010. Its only competition was How to Train Your Dragon, the original, and The Illusionist. So, again, the emotional impact that the story of Toy Story 3 had, I'm not surprised that it beat the other two, even though there is a huge fan base for How to Train Your Dragon, like that movie, that series of animated film. But Toy Story 3 is definitely the bigger fan base for sure.
Is How to Train Your Dragon like Turning Red, but for boys going through puberty? Is that why it's called How to Train Your Dragon? Is it a metaphor?
A little bit of that, but it's also the relationship between a child and their pet.
Wait, you're being for real? It is actually about like.
Well, it's a guy about a young boy who's coming into age, right? And
Okay.
he has to
The
like prove
dragon is
himself
a euphemism?
No. The dragon is a pet.
Okay. No,
Yeah,
I know it's a
it's like
pet, but like, is it a
yeah.
euphemism?
No. It's
Not
like
about how to
your
okay.
best
How to
friend who's a
control your
dog.
dragon.
No.
Sure. Okay. I'm just making sure. I don't know. I honestly didn't watch that one. I'm sorry. To all the dragon heads out there.
Dragon heads. I like how you. Yeah, that's what they're called. I'm sure. Moving on to the next matchup, we have Up, who is also going to have a bye week because Up was ranked number 6. It's up and away.
It's up, then it's up, then it's up, then it's stuck.
This was nominated back in 2009. Its competition of that year was Coraline, The Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Princess and the Frog, and The Secret of Kells or Kellis? Kells. Secret of Kells. I think you and I, being big Wes Anderson fans, would have probably made an argument that maybe The Fantastic Mr. Fox should have been a little bit more in consideration here.
Also a Tim Burton fan. Is that? Oh wait, no. Coraline is
no.
the
Coraline
other dude,
is
right?
not. Yeah, Coraline's the other guy. Yeah.
We all know what he's going
But
for. Okay,
similarities, yeah, very,
let's
very
not
big
kid
similarities.
ourselves. Um,
No, for sure.
knockoff Prada bag still looks like Prada at a distance.
Yeah.
Uh, I see why Up wins, but because I
Yeah.
like the others kind of split in their own way. I feel like it might be one of those. I'm not
Mhm.
gonna be too mad. That's actually my least favorite Wes Anderson because again, foxes don't
Sure.
talk, so nothing that happened in that movie seemed very believable. That's
Fantastical.
not why
Yeah.
I go to Wes Anderson movies, is for the talking animals of it all. Um, Up was the everyone was like, oh my god, it had such an effect on me. It made me cry. The opening
I mean,
scene.
the first 5 minutes was just heartbreaking.
I'm sorry, I'm not making fun of those people. Yeah, human emotions are real; they exist, and this movie was good at exploiting them. Congratulations.
Boom. There
Um,
you go.
but
Which is
also, it is based on physics and the real world, and you know that's why I liked it a lot compared to a lot of the other weird stuff we're talking about today.
oh yeah. I mean, we just had a Chinese balloon floating over the United States, so not
I was gonna
surprising that there
say
wasn't the house attached to it, right? So
enough balloons and anything can float. We got the dog with the talking voice monitor thing. That was a
right.
cool little concept, a little futuristic. Yeah, I was good with that
Yeah.
one. It's a very human story. It's cute.
Nice. I'm glad
Yeah.
you liked it. Um, next matchup we have here is The Incredibles. That also gets a bye because it was ranked number 7 on the list. Some background information on The Incredibles when that was nominated. So, The Incredibles was nominated back in 2004. Its competition at the time was Shark Tale. Again, if you're a huge fan of Will Smith, that is your movie. And Shrek 2, which some may argue that Shrek 2 was maybe the better movie over the original Shrek. Quite possibly. Or Shrek the Third. I don't know.
Okay.
But The Incredibles gave us, especially comic book fans, something they've been dying to see, and that is a family team up as far as a superhero genre is concerned. So I am not surprised that this won over the other two because it was just a fun and entertaining movie in general. I guess you have nothing else to say about that
Yeah,
earlier.
no, I honestly,
Okay.
yeah, I'm good. Yeah.
Cool. All right. Next matchup, we have another bye here because it's Soul. Soul. This was ranked number 10 on the list here. Some info on Soul when that was nominated. So Soul was nominated back in 2020. That year, its competition was Onward, Over the Moon, a Shaun the Sheep movie again, Farmageddon. The fact that
Ridiculous.
wow, what a
Who are they paying?
who likes these movies? That's what I want to know.
So can we go back? You're saying it's a 2020 movie that was nominated in
No, it was not.
2021,
No, no,
the
no, no, no,
2021 Oscars, right?
no. It was nominated in 2020 for the 2020 Oscars. The film came
But
out
when
in
did it?
2019.
No, the movie came out in 2020.
Oh,
I'm just saying, like the movie Soul came out in that year, and that's part of why that. Unless I'm missing something, but that
oh no, you're right.
the
I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, no,
Pixar of it.
yeah.
I'm trying to make sure I'm understanding that part right, but also with this movie that actually matters a decent deal because 2020 was a
Well,
pretty weird
the weird
year
year.
for
Yeah,
movies, and I remember those Oscars, and that was a year where I watched all the movies and just had a hell of a time with it. I remember this one
right.
for
Yeah.
sure.
No, Soul was
What was
great.
it up against again? Yeah.
So
Did
Onward, Over the Moon, the Shaun the Sheep
yeah.
movie Farmageddon, and Wolf
God,
Walkers.
that was a rough year for watching all the animated movies. Soul's the
Yeah,
clear winner in my opinion. Okay.
yeah, and I think this is probably the only year you watched all the nominees. Well, one of the first years that you've watched
There's
all
been
the
a
nominees,
couple,
right?
but yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I think back in like '06, I did it too. I was just had too much time on my hands. Um, that was the year I saw
uh,
Winnie the Pooh in theaters. We get that another time.
okay.
Um, okay. Congratulations, Soul.
Yeah, Soul moves
Loved
on
you.
to the next round.
See you
So
again.
there you go. And then we have a next matchup here. This is going to be an interesting one. Encanto versus Toy Story 4. So, yeah, this
Oh
is a rough
shit.
one.
Oh shit.
Um,
Okay.
some history here. So, Encanto was nominated in 2021 for the 2021 Oscars. Now that let's clear that out of the way. Its competition of that year was Flea, Luca, The Mitchells versus the Machines, and Raya and the Last Dragon.
Right. Tough
This
year.
was this was a big year, I think, for
Year.
animated film. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I think honestly, between Flea and the Mitchells versus the Machines, I wouldn't have been surprised if those two won over everyone else. But Encanto was very strong in its own right too. Toy Story 4 was nominated 2019. The competition of that year was How to Train Your Dragon: The Hidden World, I Lost My Body, Klaus, which is a great Netflix animated movie, and Missing Link. So the question is,
Hmm.
who wins Encanto versus Toy Story 4? Blake, what have you?
Okay, these are tough. So, part of the problem is we only have two Toy Story movies represented today, right? Because the category doesn't exist when the one and two come out.
Mm-hmm.
If there were the other Toy Stories, it would be easier for me to like let that one pass. The
Yeah.
other problem is this is the best Toy Story movie because when I go to Disney Plus on my Apple TV and I go to the profiles and you got the little picture you get to choose of all the characters in the whole world. Uh, Mine is Forky, and because my name is Blake, it's called Blorky. And I see that thing all the time, and especially when I'm binge watching shows, because I identify with Forky the same way I identified with Gonzo in the Muppets, the same way that all those lovable freaks, those little sweethearts, it is a special Toy Story movie. That said,
Oh boy.
it's not the best Toy Story movie, and Encanto is damn good. And now I'm going to show my Broadway love and ass a little bit, but the Lin-Manuel Miranda of Encanto,
Oh, there you go.
Encanto being a big movie for representation, which is
Yes.
sorely lacking in the history of and in fact, the animated movies historically went the other way with things where they were more offensive than
Mm-hmm.
a lot of things that were out there in the world. Um, Encanto was a special film about a special and magical family, and it hit for sure. I'm not too mad if you want to make a good case either way because I think both are particularly spectacular movies. But we're gonna have
Mm.
tough debates down the road too.
Oh
So
yeah.
personally, I'm gonna go and say Encanto overall as a spectacle was more special than the fourth of the Toy Story franchise.
Okay. My opinion here. So again, Toy Story, brilliant franchise. At one point, each following Toy Story movie was outdoing the previous one. Up until Toy Story 4, for me. For me, I thought Toy Story 4 was the weakest of the four. Now I understand why you like it because you could relate to a character in the movie. And
Forky,
yeah,
Forky. We can't.
Forky
We,
is a great character. I love the introduction to Forky and all that. You take Forky out of the movie, the
yeah,
rest of the
Tim
movie
Allen,
sucks. Yeah.
who has not aged well his legacy. Let's just say that. Tom Hanks, who his heyday was definitely back when the original Toy Story came out. Yeah, Tom
Mhm.
Hanks is great. Love him. His latter half of his career has not been very good, let's be honest. The bona fides aren't there, and it's not as special since it's the fourth one. It kind of
Yeah.
sucks. I'm gonna have to like give Toy Story 3 a little cred if it's the last surviving of the four Toy
Mhm.
Stories, like one of the most spectacular and revolutionary animated franchises in history. While a little absurd, is still based in the world of physics. I'm just saying it's not that absurd. They just happen to talk, but no
Right.
one's looking, so maybe that's what happens. We don't know. But yeah, Encanto's got it right. Like that's the
In
better.
Kanto, I mean, again, you can't say enough about the representation of it all. The fact that this movie was so beloved because of being able to have that representation finally on screen. The music is just so entertaining and so well done. The story with the grandmother, I mean, it was
Mm,
just so heartbreaking. It's so
mm.
touching that yeah, we have to go with Encanto for this matchup.
I mean, for the representation and the family dynamic, like that's the first time we'd seen a movie like that
Yeah,
since 2017 Coco.
yeah.
And there have been others since then, and there were some before. So, like, I don't want to give
Mhm.
Encanto too much credit for down the road.
No, of course, yeah,
It's also one of those like it's a little past due Disney, and also
yeah.
there are things to pick apart in it. That said, overall, special and lovely film for sure.
All right, so I think we're in agreement. Encanto moves on to the next round here.
Congratulations, Encanto.
Encanto, good job, Encanto. You did it. All right, and the final matchup in the first round, we have another bye week because it's Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. That is ranked number 2 on the list. Some history on Spider-Man versus the Spider-Verse, or Into the Spider-Verse, sorry. That was nominated in 2018. Its competition that year was Incredibles 2, Isle of Dogs, Mirai,
Mm.
and Ralph Breaks the Internet. So, again, I'm a huge Spider Man fan, and this movie was groundbreaking, and it just was so amazing how much I loved this movie that year. I would argue in 2018 that was probably one of my favorite movies of the year. Um, not to take away anything from Isle of Dogs, which I really enjoyed. Again, another Wes Anderson joint there. Ralph Breaks the Internet, which was very entertaining. But Spider Man for me was by far, hands down, the best movie as far as animated is concerned for that year.
Yeah, hard to say otherwise, especially with the invention of. I always forget, is it Spider Ham or Peter Porker, or he goes by both
It's both.
names?
It's both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just a quick little shout out to the, I think it was a birthday gift or holidays, something. You got me a couple of
I
those comics. I've
did.
still got them on my shelf right now because that was
Nice.
my favorite character and has just been a running thing in our friendship. So, again, thank you for that. And congratulations to the Spider Verse for giving us such a beautiful character who should have been the star of the movie, but we'll get to that another down the road when we talk about it some more.
No, for sure. All right. So that was round one. Now, we don't have to do any more history of the movies. We know what the movies are. This is where the big heat of the battle, the competition comes into place now, because this is where we have some of the legit matchups going on here. So let us talk about the first matchup we have in round two. Let me just fix the view here so that everyone can see what's on screen as we are looking at them. So, first matchup, major matchup that we have here is Spirited Away versus Rango.
Okay.
What
That's an
say
easy
you,
one.
Blake?
Both are fucking stupid. Spirited Away is less stupid. Do you want to make a case for why they're both good and
Yes.
one of them is
Thank
better?
you.
Sure, you can, but we're both correct. It's
Look,
pretty clear.
I'll just say this. If you were to poll 20 people who love anime and who love animation, Studio Ghibli, I'm pretty sure 9 out of those 10 people will say Spirited Away is their favorite. Spirited
Oh,
Away,
yo,
yeah,
No
is
Face is like it's one of those. It's like that and Totoro are iconic
yeah.
enough. You see the tattoo, and like
Mm-hmm.
it's a real thing that transcends just a movie or a year or whatever.
Yeah.
For sure, Spirited Away is going to have a tough time getting beat. I have no idea who it's facing the next round. It's about to get real tough in here.
Oh
But yeah, I
yeah.
feel like that one's pretty clear. Ringo, yeah, sure. Johnny Depp, George Miller, congratulations, you're out.
Yeah.
You made
It
it
was
one
great.
round.
Yeah. Bye bye. Yeah.
Glad you got to be here. Okay.
All right. Next matchup. Ooh, this is gonna be fun. Shrek versus Finding Nemo.
Wow, I wasn't ready
Yeah.
for it to be that difficult because it.
I know.
I'm ready for like two great ones against each other, but these are like equally. Here's the thing.
Equally good.
Okay, here's the thing. Shrek's a little gross, which is part of his charm. Hear me out. Part of his charm is he's gross and
Mhm.
sad and miserable, and he learns to love himself or people who look like him, whatever. It's got a talking donkey played by Eddie Murphy,
Uh-huh.
who's had better work in his career. It's got Mike Myers playing Shrek.
Shrek. Yep.
Oh, this is the original Shrek too, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Uh, it's kind of like hard to stomach certain parts of it. And I also
Mhm.
think we've got a lot more fart humor in these movies since
Yeah.
then. Where sometimes in the animated movies in the trailer, like you'll just see like a lot of grotesque body grossness. Like I don't even remember all, but like I feel like the Sing movies or something like that. The
Mhm.
animals are left alone in the house. One of those movies. Um, Zootopia 6, who gives a shit? But like there's just like a little too much of that. So its legacy and its rewatchability are harmed. Whereas Finding Nemo is a pure and sweet and lovely and easy to rewatch, pretty
Mhm.
perfect, unimpeachable movie. Am I wrong?
I'm gonna say this. We talked before about legacy, right? And Shrek definitely has that legacy going for it. It spawned a franchise, multiple spin-offs. Again, relevant to today. We have Puss in Boots that is very big in theaters right now. A lot of people are talking about it was nominated for best animated feature film. So it has that going for it.
Also
However,
has some
if
bad
you
ones in that legacy, right? Like or
oh
like some
sure,
lower points at least.
sure. Yeah, absolutely. If you were to revisit any of these two movies today, Finding Nemo definitely holds up more so than Shrek does. I think Shrek was a perfect product of the time,
Yeah.
but right now, my opinion, and quite
Yeah.
possibly yours, it does not
No, you're
hold up
correct.
like it used
Yeah.
to. Yeah,
And the jokes were made. The jokes were. I mean, the Shrek was a comedy, and Finding Nemo is can be funny, but it's more than that.
yeah,
Some of the jokes within Shrek are definitely going to age poorly. It's one of the tough things about
yeah.
comedies is they don't age very well.
Mm-hmm.
References become less topical. Types of jokes get worn out, and next thing you know, something that was hot is now corny. Part of
Right.
the legacy of Shrek, with what I was talking about the memification of it, is because it's so weird, and that's
Mm-hmm.
like kind of funny. But
Yeah,
as far as I get, if I was homesick on a given day, my little test for animated movies, if I'm homesick and just gonna put something on, I want something that is palatable, appealing, lovely, uh, like I don't even want to say wholesome. It's not even about that. It would just be more like what's gonna make me feel good and
yeah.
better and be less of a like make me less miserable.
Mm-hmm.
This definitely passes that test for sure. And the other one
Yeah.
isn't so much better on other counts that I think that's how I'm gonna do the tiebreaker here.
Yeah, no, for sure. And look, I know there's going to be a lot of you out there who probably has Shrek very close to their heart. Your right moment, right time, all that stuff, fond memories of it. But if you're just to be objective about it, and like I said, you rewatched both movies today, I really strongly feel Finding Nemo is the better of the two. Similar like you. If I was at home sick and I only had two DVDs in my house, Shrek and Finding Nemo, you would find me reaching for the Finding Nemo DVD and popping that in to watch. Because it's just like again, it's the feel good type of movie for sure. Um, over Shrek, especially today. So congratulations, Finding Nemo. You move on to see another round.
Shrek, you did great. You were loved,
Yeah.
but that'll
Oh,
do. Donkey, that'll do. Which is
you're
a ripoff
nice.
of Babe, Pig in the City.
It,
Yeah, I
it's
need
a
to
it's yeah
rewatch.
it's a
There's
very
too
similar
many.
calling. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, I see the issue with
yeah.
Shrek. Yeah, it's not gonna. The references aren't as hot anymore.
No.
Okay. Sorry, Shrek. Your time is ogre.
Oh my gosh, this guy's on a roll. All right,
Okay.
next matchup: Wally versus Inside Out.
Tough
I'll give you
one. I'm
my
gonna keep
yeah.
short. Wally's better for
Okay,
sure. Like that's where I'm
then
leaning. Are we good?
we're in agreement here
Inside
because
Out is
again,
lovely and special, and emotions are real, and children need to
100%.
learn that. That's great. Wally is a better movie overall, and a
Yeah,
tougher challenge. Inside Out was a tough challenge for like how to
yeah.
capture that.
Hmm.
Wally was like there was no like I'd have to rewatch it. But there's no dialogue or
Hardly
humor for
dialogue,
like
hardly any
so.
dialogue for most of the movie. Yeah,
I remember how rare that one felt at the time
yeah,
and how special. And then I saw it and was like, oh, I get it. This is
yeah,
incredible. Inside Out was close to that level, but no. Shout out
yeah.
Wally.
No, 100% agree there. So good. We're no big arguments yet.
We'll save them
Next
for
category. Well,
moments
oh
from
yeah,
now. Yeah.
there's gonna be big ones, I'm sure. Next matchup we have Big Hero 6 versus Coco. Now for me, I give it to Coco on this one.
Not gonna get much of a fight. Parts of Big Hero 6 were so successful to me, and I really liked
Mm-hmm.
that one. It hit me in the feels. Coco did too. I cried in both of them, which is another
Sure.
thing this genre is really good at, is a fun, lovely time and sweet, and then you just remember like, I used to be full of hope and optimism, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Um, we should be nice to each other, or whatever the moral of the story is. Um, for a lot of these fables, these both hit. I think overall, Coco is a more interesting movie.
Yeah.
The music that's there, the plot twist of it all. Like, there's a couple things about it that, I mean, personally, I would put on Big Hero 6 on a given day, but I do think Coco pulls off a more difficult task and is a more special movie.
All right. So congratulations to Coco. Moving on to the next round. Oh, this is gonna be a fun one for you. Ratatouille versus Frozen. I already know where you're leaning here.
You're gonna say Ratatouille, right?
No,
You're gonna say Frozen over Ratatouille?
that's where you're leaning.
I'm asking you where you're leaning. You tell me where you're leaning, I'll tell you where I'm leaning. You lean
I
one way,
would,
I'll lean the We're playing chicken here, baby. Let's go.
yeah,
You go first, queen.
I would prefer to lean more towards Ratatouille here. However, again, the type of argument you made for Frozen in the previous round still holds true to now, to this round. And if you were to compare the two, I would have to say that Frozen still out trumps Ratatouille.
So you're choosing Frozen?
I am going to be choosing Frozen for this
I'm
one.
not
Yes.
kidding you. I hate this. I was gonna choose Ratatouille. I'm not
Were
kidding
you
at
really?
all.
Why?
Did we just out chicken each other and turn
You didn't
around and then
you didn't even finish the movie.
yeah, but so, I mean, you just told me what happened. I already know what happens. It's uh, Frozen is more annoying. Hear me out. I'm gonna now go the other on both of them.
Wow.
Watch this. Frozen broke through to the culture, and then Frozen 2 flopped pretty badly compared to the original one. People really are annoyed. You are correct in your take on the original Frozen. It's not actually that good. It's just that a bunch of kids liked it enough that it made enough movie and made a big enough impact. Congratulations, a lot of your cast is good. That's true for almost all of these movies. Almost everyone we look through, they've got like 8 big names in there, and a lot of them are Oscar winners. And in this case, they're people who happen to originate Broadway roles. Some of the Broadway roles which were legendary and great. That doesn't necessarily mean that the animated movie that those people were in is also good the way that the other things they did are good, or else obviously the best animated movie of all time is Toy Story 4, because I don't know what Tom Hanks, I don't know, there's gonna be one of these which is like a really great
Okay.
cast. Pretend I said
Sure,
that
yeah.
one. Okay. Meanwhile, Ratatouille. Hold on. I have to come up with a reason why. Ratatouille hits adults and whole families more differently and special. And it's about, hear me out, it's about dreams. It's about choosing and following your passions. And Frozen, honestly, I did watch Frozen and it was kind of corny. Like, it was pretty
It
dumb.
is corny.
And there's a talking snowman, which there's another movie out there with a talking snowman already, the whole Frosty and Friends thing, which if we're gonna talk about classic, legendary, ice-based snowman cinema animation, better than Frozen for sure. More
I
le
love how much you're backtracking on your argument for Frozen in the previous round, and now you're
I
just
don't
like,
remember
you
who
know
was
what?
facing. I just didn't want
At the
that one
end
to
of the
win.
day, Frozen really sucks. And the
Hear me out.
only good,
Everything I said before
yeah,
was actually a reason why it's actually
like the
bad.
only good thing
Listen.
about the movie was that song, but that's not even good about it. It's just like,
Yep.
that was the thing at
Listen.
the time.
Whereas Ratatouille gives us Raccacoonie, which is going to be the 2023 Best Picture Oscar, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And seriously, I do know a lot of parents liked Frozen because their kids held a gun to their head and said, "If you don't learn to love this," like it was more a
Right.
Stockholm syndrome thing.
Right.
Whereas a lot of people genuinely loved Ratatouille, and
Right.
it is special and cute and sweet in its own really stupid way. So
Again, Ratatouille is ranked number 3 because of the average rating it has on
let's take
Letterboxd.
that into account if we're playing chicken here.
So let's do
Did
that.
I just win
You
or
know
did
what?
you win? Did you mind fuck me? Did you just wait? Hold on. What is happening right now? Did you
Is-
chicken me into? You were gonna choose Reddit.
I may
I
have.
win the
I may
argument
have.
again. Hear me out. I win the argument for Frozen and the argument against Frozen. I'm undefeated.
That
Take
is
that.
talk about a
Or you mind
complete
fucked me. I don't know.
180. Well, again, it's that strategy of caving into the thing that I didn't want to, but then knowing that there was a better argument to be had in my favor, and I let you take lead on that. So thank you for that. So congratulations, Ratatouille. You moved on to
Yes.
the next round. All right. Now, this is going to be another interesting one. Toy Story 3 versus Up. Now, here's my thoughts on this. You have Toy Story 3 that had one of the most emotional endings probably in all of the Toy Story franchise. And then you have Up that has probably one of the most emotional beginnings of every animated film.
It's like the whole thing about that movie is the beginning. People are like, the first 10 minutes will fuck you up.
But that's the thing too.
Yeah.
Up is good for that beginning. If you were to
You'd
go
rather
back
have
and
a
watch
strong
Up,
ending.
I'd rather have that strong, impactful ending that I will always remember.
Of course.
And, yeah.
We got Randy Newman back for Toy Story 3.
Hell
We
yeah.
got Tim Allen, one of the great comics of all time. I'm kidding.
Wow.
One of the
Out of all the hot takes.
one of the worst people and worst stand-up comedians of all time. Jeez. I actually tried to listen to some the other day because I was listening to a parody of it from Tim Heidecker, and I was listening to Tim Allen. It was about 5 minutes. I was like, this is horrible. Anyway, he does a great job as Buzz Lightyear, which is obviously why Toy Story 3 should win. No, I remember the garbage truck of it all. I don't remember much else from Toy Story 3. Toy Story 4 was more recent and it hit me harder. That said, I feel like we're both going Toy Story 3. What's the point of being around this year?
Yeah, Toy Story 3 here. I mean, Up is a great movie, but I think if you look at the rest of the movie compared to just the beginning, Toy Story 3 has a more impactful storyline all throughout. So it's definitely longer lasting. So, and I think a lot of people will have that argument that Toy Story 3 is probably the best movie of the franchise, or the other argument is Toy Story 4 being the best movie in the franchise. So still, you have two later Toy Story movies in that argument of being the best in the whole franchise. So I think that has a lot to say for what we're going up against here. So, all right, next matchup: The Incredibles versus Soul. Yeah. So this is an interesting one. I'm going to say, for myself personally.
Wait, are you about to say what it is? What you choose?
What do you mean? Yeah,
You're gonna say which. Let's do it on 3, 2, 1. Choose. We'll say it the same time.
Incredibles. Oh, sorry. I thought you were doing it now. I thought you were doing it right now.
Damn it, Renee. I was gonna say Soul either way, so sure. Not playing chicken anymore, okay? 3, 2, 1, Soul.
Incredibles.
Okay, you said it first, so I guess that wins. Stupid. Just because the characters are so fast and Incredibles, that's what you're doing, and I waited. I was doing more jazz timing over here.
All right.
Okay.
How are we going to measure this? So The Incredibles for me, again.
What's our metric with all these? We maybe should have decided that before. Except these movies are so different. It's just going to be like there is literally no way to judge which one is better. Except we're doing it right now.
Well, again, it's our opinion, right? So this is the arguments that we would make for it. Soul is a great movie. And again, I guess what will trump it would be what we talked about
Trumpet?
before.
Did you really say trumpet for the movie Soul? Okay, go ahead.
I did.
That's cute.
That's brilliant, right? Um,
Trent
representation.
Reznor would be
Again,
proud of
it's
you.
about good representation in this movie, right? I mean, it's a guy teaching music in New York, um, and you had like really great representation here. Jazz music being in the forefront, which isn't we don't see a lot of, except a movie like La La Land, which is probably the improper representation when we talk about jazz. Um, Great performances by Jamie Foxx, which I thought he did a really good job as a voice here. A great Knicks reference in the movie, which was a very hilarious poke at the Knicks. So I do see that there's an argument saying that Soul would probably be the better movie over The Incredibles. I just personally, because me, The Incredibles had a very strong impact on me, just for entertainment factor, and just overall story and character building. Like I love the family. The family is a great family. I love the story there. I love the kids. I think a lot of people can relate to the feelings that these kids had, what the parents had to go through. Getting older in life and still clamoring for the glory days and all that stuff. I think all of us kind of have those moments in ourselves. If we were to go into average rating overall on Letterboxd, according to that grouping there, The Incredibles is number 7, while Soul is number 10. So I think
Damn
at the end of the
close.
day, it's pretty close. Who gets it over what? So what would your argument be here?
I mean, the arguments are pretty simple for this one. It's New York City based, it's jazz based, and the representation is just kind of like some top
Yeah.
interesting things that are like headliners for reasons, and how important that is, how behind that has been. Um, I don't want the importance of representation to dictate which ones should and should not be included in the future. Sadly, this shouldn't be such a big issue, and it shouldn't
Yeah.
be one of those like, "Congratulations, Disney, you made a movie that did something right."
Right.
That sadly has been the world we live in, and I do think that the real world needs to take those into consideration. I think we don't need to make that part of the case every time. Right now, with this versus Incredibles, this to me kind of reminds me of like the Finding Nemo. The reason why we gave it to
Hmm.
that is because the pleasantness of the movie, the rewatchability, the message. Um, if I'm homesick, I'm definitely putting on Soul. You might put on Incredibles, and you're not
Hmm.
terribly wrong for that one. I think it is a more entertaining action and superhero thing. That's
Yeah.
not really my bag. And Soul also does the inside out thing pretty well, where it
Hmm.
takes these abstracts, human, like what is a soul thing, the
Yeah.
way another movie does what is the emotion, what are emotions. Like it does that brilliantly. And I also think the animation of Soul is more innovative and the animation for Incredibles, where there's some beautiful moments and scenes in Soul that are pretty funny at times and pretty sad and pretty like that make you reflect on the human condition and why are we here.
Hmm.
It's asking really big questions. In Incredibles, I'll give you, it is definitely more entertaining. With all of those factors, we have a couple more that I'm going to throw in. There's the Jamie Foxx of it all. Um, did an incredible job in the lead as a former Best Actor winner,
Hmm.
taking on that role. Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross and John Batiste doing the movie for it was, I thought, fantastic. I honestly think they crushed it. It was a really sweet story.
Hmm.
Um, the answering the question, why are we here? But that man's particular story, just the human version, is really sweet also, and seeing his dreams come true, that whole aspect of it, for chasing his dreams, was lovely. And that movie came out in 2020, which is a year we damn needed that movie like Soul on a
Hmm.
streamer like Disney Plus. So all those reasons, I'm saying Soul to me takes it, and it's not close. I genuinely think Soul is the better and more special movie.
Okay. Uh, how many times have you seen it?
So many times. I've seen it more than I've seen Incredibles. I'll tell you that
You have.
for sure. How many times have you seen Incredibles?
Oh my god, I
A
can't even
lot.
remember. A lot. Yeah.
Okay, that's so sad to me. I'm sorry. I've seen them both one time. I'm actually not a big movie rewatcher because I have such a long watch list. It's one of
Mhm.
the. There are some people who rewatch any movie any number of times. I had an old roommate who just put on Jurassic Park like every weekend. So that's
That
the
that
Jurassic
that
Park
would
hit
have
the
been me.
500 on accident. No, I for the most part like even my favorite of these.
Yeah.
I can go through the list, but like there are gonna be very few exceptions to that, if any, on this list.
Mhm.
I didn't even I personally, like, not a spoiler, like Wally's like up there at least for my favorite, and like that one I started to rewatch and didn't get through it. So um once I've seen a movie and absorbed it, yeah, one time for each.
Okay. Um. Okay. Yeah. This is gonna be a tough one here. Like, how do we come up with the winner for this one? Um. I think
Hmm. I really want to
again,
hear you say that
you
you're gonna kill Soul. I would love to see the look and the
I
way the
can't
little
I
child
can't
inside you dies as you
I
say
can't
that.
I can't speak badly for any of these two movies. I mean, these two movies have their merits and all that, and they're very well done movies. Of course, I'm going to have uh special ties to Incredibles because of what the impact it made for me when that came out. You had probably more of an affinity for Soul because of the time it came out and how it affected you and all that.
Love of
I'm going
Jazz, the New York City of it all. It
sure,
was a
yeah,
cooler, better movie for sure.
opinion, but yeah, uh,
No, no.
I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna give you Soul because
Okay.
the next matchup I want
Oh no.
to have a clear winner on the next
I
matchup.
don't know what it is because I don't have it on my screen, and I hate
Exactly,
that. But
exactly.
if you're asking me to not send, I can't send Soul into the great beyond just yet. So I do feel strongly. Now, I will give you this. I was very entertained by Incredibles.
Mhm.
I thought it was a lovely time. It was a fun and entertaining family. That it was actually better than I thought it would be. I thought it was gonna be just like some dumb schlocky superhero crap. Sorry
Mhm.
for just shitting on all the things you love at the same time, but it was better than that. But yeah, Soul is more special as a film. So give
Okay,
me Soul. I'll give you
I'll give you
special
Soul.
consideration on the next one, but I might not fold. Let's
You're
see.
you're gonna fold because that matchup, and this will move us into the next round.
Can't wait.
Encanto versus Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Oh, I'll love to give you this one. I don't want to have to make that decision. Go for it. What do you got?
Yes,
Go Spider
Spider-Man,
Verse. Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
yeah.
So there
So
we
that's a
go.
tough one. There's a few I wish it happens like same in sports and everywhere else. Like I wish that Spider Verse had knocked out somebody else, but that's gonna be a tough
Right.
one to defeat. We already know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyone
That's
knows.
going to be one of the clear cut front runners, I think, in this overall tournament that we're having here.
Until Wallace and Gromit, dude. Until
Which didn't even make it past the first round.
wait,
But
what?
what, you forgot already?
What?
Oh man. All right. Well, speaking of the next round, so here we go. We are
Okay, how
now
many are we
in
down to?
we are down to 8.
Okay.
So,
Semifinals. Quarterfinals, those
yes.
are called. Yep, nailed it.
So, the first matchup we have here, Spirited Away.
Well, you
What
mind
what?
since we're at that like basically halfway mark? Can you read through
Yeah.
1 through 8 real quick? We'll just rattle
Sure.
them off so we know what
S-
where who's where what.
Absolutely. So, who we have here in the next round, round 3, we have Spirited Away, Finding Nemo, Wall-E, Coco, Ratatouille, Toy Story 3, Soul, and Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yeah.
So, going back.
I just opened a whole betting line on this, and I'm putting a lot of money on
Nice.
Ratatouille for no good reason.
Nice. It's all because of Everything Everywhere All at Once. I have a feeling. Um, so the matchup we have here on top is Spirited Away versus Finding Nemo. So you're gonna surprise me with my argument here.
You about to
I
say
love
Nemo?
I love Spirited Away.
What the fuck
I
is
do.
happening? I was about to say Spirited Away.
Wait,
Jesus.
hold on. Just hear me out. Hear me out.
How do we keep flipping? Okay, that's actually a good sign
I,
if we are doing that. That means it actually is a toughie. Okay.
yeah, it's a tough matchup. I love
Go ahead.
Spirited Away to death. I really do. However, if you were to talk about rewatchability and being able to watch something, let's say you're down, you just want something to pop in, I'd probably 9 times out of 10 choose Finding Nemo over Spirited Away each time. Because again, heartfelt, fun, entertaining movie. Spirited Away is very serious, very well done, but it's definitely more of a serious type of movie. And it's not something I could always watch over and over again. I've seen it maybe twice, compared to the numerous amounts of times I saw Finding Nemo. So I think for that, Finding Nemo would trump this, in my opinion. Even though Spirited Away is stronger as far as filmmaking is concerned.
These aren't dissimilar to the conversation we just had about Finding Nemo versus Shrek. To me, Spirited Away is, yes, better. The filmmaking of it all. The Ghibli.
Ghibli.
Ghibli? Thank you.
Mhm.
I obviously am a huge fan. Saw Spirited Away literally last night. I don't know what like the moral of that movie was. If it was less chaotic, I think it would hit better. I know that there are iconic characters and scenes and images, and that is like one of the most popular movies of all time.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I'm
if you
pretty
want to,
sure
okay, if
every
you want
anime
like
nerd just clicked the X mark. So hear us out.
if
Is the
you
better
wait
movie.
before you continue, Spirited Away, if you want like a good like meaning behind it all, Spirited Away is kind of like um the manifestation of like fears and anxieties that the girl is going through, that the female character is going through. So that's basically the overall subject matter of what's happening in that movie. So again, if someone can relate to that, that's going to be a very big movie for you.
Is that why I thought nothing happened? Because I have such bad anxiety. I was like, yeah, it's just a
Maybe.
Tuesday. It's like a Seinfeld of the
Maybe.
animated movies.
Yeah.
Okay. Fascinating. So, yeah, I'm good with your decision overall. We both agree. Yes. Ugh,
So we're going with Finding
Miyazaki
Nemo on this
lover.
one?
Yeah, Miyazaki lovers, you're right. It is the better movie. We're wrong. Finding Nemo is the one that gets to advance, and the world isn't fair. And that's what the movie Spirited Away taught me. And Finding Nemo taught me about resilience. And that's what Finding Nemo has right now moving forward. Not only the rewatchability, which was the exact case I made about it earlier for the record, but also like I can't shit on Spirited Away.
No, I mean, you can't. I mean, I wouldn't.
I'm worried because the comment section will get real brutal real fast.
It's fine.
You know,
Look,
I did a
again,
rant earlier about how terrible of a movie it was, right? I
I
think
know.
maybe I kind
Yeah.
of blacked out
Why
for a
is
little bit.
everyone so painted?
An insane take. Um, congratulations on your really cool collection of flip books, Miyazaki. That's really cool. You spent a lot of time with a little post-it note pad. So, oh wow, the pictures move fast. Um,
Oh my god.
Nemo is to me overall like a whole picture. It's better. At the very least, rewatchability.
Okay. Let's just say Finding Nemo moves on to the
More
next
tranquil. The other one's more anxious. I don't want to rewatch it. You're right. It was the rewatchability thing the whole time.
Yeah. All right. Next matchup we have here is Wally versus Coco.
Really? Why are you doing this
Yes.
to me, man? Why are you
I'm
making me have to
sorry.
choose?
This is where we are.
Here's what I want you to imagine: is you're in another Disney property for the
Mm-hmm.
Infinity Stone, I think it's called, and you have to
Mm-hmm.
sacrifice either Coco the character or Wally the character. Who you got? But not the actual like. There's not like a real person. It's just like an
Oh,
animated
sure.
character that's like doesn't have
Yeah.
a soul. But, like you had to watch one just bye forever. I'm having a harder time dropping Wally. I have so much
Me
affection and
too.
love for the little
No, me
guy.
too. Yeah,
I don't know
me
why.
too.
So, I did. Okay, we made all. We're gonna keep making arguments on why one's better than the other one, and we're gonna
Yeah.
flip in some ways. And a thing that were like, I was really great for these reasons. In some ways, those might not transcend around 3, 4, 5. Me, Coco was amazing. I loved it. It made me cry. It was entertaining. There were some moments, especially near the end, like the fight scenes, and I feel like the ending was rushed. The twist happened, and then there was a lot of movie after that, and there's like a chase scene and the train, and like it went more into like corny territory rather than like a
Hmm.
transcendently great animated movie. So in that, it like has too much like there were some things about it that were special and unique and never been done before. There are parts of it that were had been done before and were it's parts of it honestly felt phoned in to me. I don't know if you got that vibe. Whereas Wall-E is a once in a lifetime type masterpiece of a movie.
Yeah, basically what you're saying, and I totally agree with this, is that Coco fell into some typical animated tropes and
Yeah,
story tropes that we've seen in other animated movies.
yeah.
Not to take away anything from it, because it's still a great movie, but if we had to, since we are putting it up with Wall-E, Wall-E is definitely the stronger of the two as far as story is concerned.
Not to take anything away from it, but it's worse
Yeah.
and it has to leave now. Sorry,
All
Wall-E.
right.
Congratulations. You're
Well,
gonna
bye
live
bye,
forever, buddy.
Coco.
Nothing bad will ever happen to you, Wall-E. Don't worry.
No, nothing at all. All right. Next one. Blake's new favorite, Ratatouille,
Love that
versus
movie.
Toy
It's my
Story
favorite movie of
3.
all time. Better than Godfather. We're both gonna say on the count of three. One, two. Toy Story
Story 3.
3
Yeah.
for sure. It's
Yeah.
not even close at
Yeah.
this point.
No, not even
It's interesting
close.
that Ratatouille's rated so high on Letterboxd. I don't. Do you know why?
Again, I think it's a story that really gels more with adults, to be honest with you. You like I feel like if you were, since this is the letterbox crowd we're talking about, I can totally
Yeah.
see them falling in love with Ratatouille for sure. And once you
Yeah,
get
because
to
so
that
many of them
moment,
gave
you'll
up on
see
their
it.
dreams and spent too much time on a movie app, and they related to the main. Okay, got it. Yeah.
Well, it's the same. I think the same argument that can be had why a lot of people love Fablemans. It's because of the creative aspect of it, right? Being a
Okay.
creator and all that. I think it's kind
Okay.
of similar vein to
I
that.
get that. Okay.
Yeah.
There's a few of these movies here that like it's almost like the different animated movies can often fall into a similar like what kind of message is it?
Yeah.
Is it
Hmm.
family is important, community is important, you are important, your dreams are important,
Right.
the future, whatever. Um this is one of those the dreams are important and the ones that are about creativity too. Okay. Sorry
Yeah.
Ratatouille. You were creative while you lasted.
Yeah. So, last one in this round. Blake's other new favorite movie, Soul, versus Spider-Man Into the
I fucking
Spider-Verse.
hate you. I hate you. Abstain. Pass. I abstain. I know what
Uh,
you're gonna pick, and honestly, I
Spider-Man.
think I pick it too. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a more dynamic movie, and it does
Yeah.
different things better, and it is more innovative. I think we
Yeah.
both know that that's why that movie beats out, even though Soul is so damn amazing. In the great case I made earlier, all that's still true, and yet Spider-Verse has a lot of those same characteristics. It is a very
Yeah.
special and great film, and yet it did some brand new animated shattering things. So
No, absolutely. All right. Final four. Here we go. First matchup, Finding Nemo versus Wally.
one, two, three.
Wally.
Wally. Yeah.
Wally. Yeah. Again,
I
not to
Nemo, you
take
had a great
anything
run.
away.
You just
Oh
kept
yeah.
coming. You were lovely. We talked about how lovely you are. You're so lovely. Now go
And
back
so
and lick more of the
rewatchable.
bowl.
So
Yes,
rewatchable.
so
Yeah.
rewatchable. We all say you're the
Yeah.
most rewatchable. We love you. You're fantastic.
Absolutely.
Honestly, if I had to choose one to put on, I might even choose Nemo. Like, let's just say there's like babysitting my nephew. I might put on Nemo instead of Wally. Like, Wally is a more niche movie in some ways,
It can be. Yeah.
and more artful. I know that there was I forgot what age, but it was like my nephew was at a certain age. I was like, I think they're ready for Wally, but they might not be, and it might be a rough one.
Sure.
So maybe next year.
Yeah.
Um, that said, it's to me. I think Nemo still wins the rewatchability factor, but Wally wins the like legacy special. You did a more difficult thing.
Right. Now we could do this real quick. What if Spirited Away moved on to this round and you pit Spirited Away versus Wally? Again, we're going to be talking about like filmmaking and story, right? Would that be a closer competition, or is it still Wally hands down?
So what's wrong with you, man? Why are you doing this to me? You're making up new ones that we don't have to do?
No, I'm just
This is
saying.
fucked up, dude. This is sick. I'm tired of it. We're near the end, and now you throw in a new one that we don't even have to discuss? This is really difficult. These are like cherished properties.
I know.
I know I said I hate animated movies. These are some of the most cherished movies of all movies as
I love
well.
that I'm getting this out of you. This is the best. I love this.
I've cried at every movie left, for sure. And I am also pretty sure my dad and brother and nephews have all cried at these movies. Whole family's fucking either weeping, like feeling all types of things that we're not ready for. Animated movies are special in the way that they can do things and unlock things that a regular movie just can't. They disarm us.
Right.
They bring us into a childlike state of wonder and amazement. And they unlock and unravel parts of ourselves. And it's beautiful. There's a magic animated cinema. And now I'm about to wax poetically about that
There
for
we
2 more
go.
minutes unless you stop me. Which one did you want me to kill again? You want me to decide
Never
between
mind.
who?
We can
Thank
move
you.
on from here. Yeah,
How
I
dare you.
I still think Wally would have like beat it out, but all right.
I feel like it would, yeah.
So this matchup: Toy Story 3 versus Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I know which way we're going. I think I know.
Yeah.
I don't want to play chicken with you. We're gonna say Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes, 100%.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Yeah.
I know now. I know what the final matchup is, and I'm freaking out.
Yeah, and it again, it's
dude.
you know this reminds me of like the mid '90s when Jordan was on the Bulls. It's like you have this clear cut, superstar and team that could not be beat, even though you had a lot of great other teams along the mix. And I think Spider-Man represents the Jordan Bulls of the '90s against this field of
cleaning up.
Yeah, it's just cleaning up. So for the final,
Soul is one of my favorites here, and it wasn't much of a debate. We just said it at the same time. Okay.
So for the final, we have Wall-E versus Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. I already know my pick here. So what do you have to say?
Okay, so if you're on the podcast, sorry, the way it hold on, no. So between these two, of the all, so the reason why I would have to no, hold on, 100%, 0%. Oh, okay. The only thing I know for sure, no, I don't. I can't say if I could between the two, choosing having to choose between the two.
Oh my God, this is amazing. You're actually seeing Blake having a meltdown. He's having a complete meltdown right now. I see the sparks like flying out of his brain.
But if they're both
smoke
perfect and
out of the ears,
there's nothing wrong with them.
I've never seen Blake struggle so hard before.
We'd have to come up with new factors that we haven't even considered before.
I think his brain is breaking right now.
So recency,
he might be melting in front of our eyes.
Is the reason why? No,
brain cells are literally spilling out of his nose and dripping down. It's quite a feat to see this happening right now, and I think he might be developing an aneurysm that I won't be surprised if we see a blood clot forming somewhere, or maybe his eyes will turn red because blood vessels are going to just start popping. It's like taking a very strong dump.
Wall-E.
Really?
Wallace and Gromit, maybe.
Wallace and Gromit is not here. You had your chance, and you blew it.
Fine, Wall-E.
You're gonna choose Wall-E over Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
I am.
And what is your okay? If you're giving me just one reason,
And I'm
One
going to
reason.
ask you, do you really want to put me through what I just went through again?
Just one
You
reason.
sick, when will it stop?
Just one reason. One reason why you choose Wally over
There's
Spider-Man.
only one reason.
What? And that is?
Recency bias.
What?
That's it. That's all. You asked for one reason. I'm giving you one reason. Recency bias.
Recency
Spider-Verse
bias.
in whatever 15. When was Wally? 07? 06?
Wall-E
08?
was back in
9?
2008.
8. Wally
Spider-Man.
so far has stood a 15-year test of time versus Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse has stood a 3-year. And there's about to be a sequel. I hope it's amazing. I don't know if that will be the case. The legacy for Spider-Verse is unwritten. It takes more risks in some ways than Wally does. Both of them break the genre. Both movies that will permanently have an impact. Like right now, we're watching the um, Oscar-nominated animated films, and like Puss in Boots: Last Wish owes something
Mm-mm.
to Spider-Verse. Mitchell's vs. the Machines owes something to Spider-Verse. I think every animated movie will owe something to Spider-Verse moving forward.
Sure.
I know that it's a special movie. We don't really know that to be the case. We don't know what its legacy is. I know that it's at times schlockier, and cuter, and those aren't always like the cuter. Like it's not really a bad thing in this genre, and the characters like that is part of what makes it special. But if I'm going to go with the most unimpeachable, best of them, and that's what you're asking me, I have to
Yeah.
go with Wally. It's the more perfect movie to me
Okay.
overall. It does less and is just as successful, and it doesn't have as many missteps, and it has a longer a more pristine legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling, and now I would love to be wrong. I hope I am. I have a feeling, it's like we were talking about with a bunch of these movies today. There's a lot of spin-offs and IP sequels
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't always age well. And my gut says if I'm just looking for anything, which you saw me go on the fritz, if I'm looking for anything, it'd be like recency bias um, versus legacy, and which one is the more perfect one. Now that said, honestly, here's what I would give it to you on for Spider-Verse. It took more risks and it
Yeah.
did something that was more difficult. The only reason why I would still give that to Wally is Wally also took risks and did something difficult, but it did less and had a very successful outcome. Not just like the awards of it or how people loved it so much, but like it was a very moving movie with a smaller palette. And to me, that is, while it took less risk, sure, it did, that is the more difficult challenge. So for that reason, Wally, you can't take it away. We're at the end now. You can say whatever you want next. And no matter what, Wally will be my choice for the best of all these movies.
Okay. Um,
Don't tell
hate
Miles
to say,
Morales.
hate to say it, but I actually agree with you.
Get out. Really?
I'm dead serious. Yeah. Okay. I love Spider-Man Into the
Me too.
Spider-Verse.
Oh no, I love it.
Yeah,
If you're in the
great
comments right now saying I
story.
hate it, I don't. I love it.
No, 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 no.
Love
You're
it
not
so
saying you
much.
hate it. Yeah.
You said you hated it because you said Wally's better.
Wait a
That's
minute. What?
everyone. Go to
I
the
did
comments
not
and,
know.
and be like, Renee's wrong. He said Wally's better.
No, no,
Go to the
no.
comments
I
right
did not.
now.
I did not
He
say
said
that.
Spider
No, 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 no,
Verse.
no.
I
That's
heard
not
it.
true. No, no. Wally, for a lot of the same reasons that you said, has a brilliant story, does a lot more with very little, no dialogue. Very, everything is related and based off of a robot, who doesn't do a lot, can't really communicate, has a great moment with another robot that they meet. It's a romance story. It's a love story. It's wanting to belong type of story. It has a lot of that stuff going for itself. A nice little take on humanity and society and where that's going, and a lot of things that we can relate to there, and all that stuff like that. It is a story that so far stands the test of time as far as every time you watch it, you remember why you love it so much. Spider Man Into the Spider Verse has a lot of that going for it too. However, I feel like the more times you watch Spider Man, the more it kind of wears thin in certain parts.
A little more
And
novelty.
yeah, yeah, a little
So
bit more
there's some gimmicks
novelty.
and tricks happening which are amazing and groundbreaking. I'm not trying to take it away.
Yeah,
It is okay. I see. I've only watched it the one time, but I can definitely see that effect
yeah.
happening.
It's the same argument I can give for Spider Man No Way Home. Like
Yeah.
when that movie first came out, I thought it was the best thing I've seen ever in my entire life. But I realized later on that a lot of that has to do with the nostalgic factor of the reveal of the other Spider-Man that get introduced. You know, you have Tobey Maguire, you have Andrew Garfield coming back and all that. Once that's already been established and you know that's there, the more times you watch that movie, the more you're like,
Mm,
was this really a good movie or was I just like really banking on the whole fact of the nostalgia of it
uh,
all? You know what
and
I
you got
mean?
caught up in the moment, kind of like,
Oh, I think we all did. I think a lot of
of
people did.
course.
Yeah.
That's a great point on rewatching certain movies, which we've talked
Yeah.
about with different ones, is what your experience is in the theater can really shape how you, if you think
Hmm.
the movie is great. The
Yeah.
one where you're sitting there going, "Whoa, you blew my mind through." It's like one reason why I have a hard time rewatching horror movies. They're
Hmm.
never going to be as effective the next time. And comedies, there's some exceptions, but a lot of them don't age
Sure.
very well, or at least the joke isn't as funny. It doesn't hit as hard as that first time you watched it on the all nighter with all your friends. I
Right.
could see the surprise, and I'm saying novelty. That's the negative word for it, but it was innovative and groundbreaking what Spider Verse did. But that is
Yeah.
becomes less exciting as it becomes absorbed into, like that is what happened. It hits doesn't hit as hard, and at some point that level of innovation in animated movies could become the norm. It's one of the beautiful things about
Sure.
this genre.
Yeah. And we're gonna see it again with the sequel coming out. You know, they're still gonna explore like the great animation style. We're gonna get introduced to a lot of new characters once again and all that stuff like that. So who knows? The next movie that we get may be even better than the previous one. And then who knows? 10 years from now, we could be having the same type of tournament, and we could have a different result altogether. But I think what you said, it's pretty much the same type of mindset that I had was that Wally, a movie that came out in 2008, I can watch it today and still fall in love with it the same exact way as I fell in love with it back then. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, if you give it 10 more years, will you have that same feeling of it later on that you did now, right? And I don't know if that's easily that you could say that or not. Maybe it's one of those movies where it's too early. It's still young in its kind of a history within the
Yeah,
industry, within movie fandom or whatever, or animated movie fandom or whatever the case is. But it's again, we're not saying it's not a good movie. There's a reason why it's going toe to toe at the finals
yeah.
here with Wally. But I think as far as longevity, rewatchability, emotion, storytelling, characters, all that kind of stuff like that, Wally is for me the clear cut winner in this tournament today. So
I'm about to go rewatch Wall-E apparently because I was going to go through and be like, okay, now that that's our winner, what about against the greatest of all time? If we go to letterboxd top all time, not just the Oscar winners of this
mhm.
category that's only been around in so many years, Spirited Away is number one all time animated movie. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is number two all time. And again, we're not saying this movie isn't good. I'm
Yeah,
not mad about that at all.
yeah.
We've then got some other Perfect Blue, the
Oh, I know Perfect Blue.
Grave of the
Oh, Grave
Fireflies.
of the
Okay,
Fireflies. Oh my god.
Princess Mononoke, Howl's Moving Castle. A lot of Ghibli.
Hmm.
Okay, just say, let me know if I'm saying it wrong.
Yeah, Ghibli. Mhm.
Don Hertzfeld, It's Such a Beautiful Day. Then Puss in Boots' Last Wish. Like Marcel the Shell,
Really?
Fantastic Mr. Fox. This is a very interesting list
That is interesting.
with
Yeah.
a lot of Miyazaki. But of the. I love that Wally isn't even on here. That tells us how much room there is for debate. But of the top 250 of all movies, not just animated,
Hmm.
There are only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are only 20 that are animated of all letterbox
All
top
time.
rated
Yeah.
250 movies. And Ratatouille comes in at number 18. And they're dead fucking
Really?
wrong for that one. Yeah. That's so
Wow.
funny.
But then again, you are talking about the letterbox audience, and the letterbox audience does kind of again go more into like
Yep.
the film, the cinephiles, the ones who are really focused on great storytelling, unique storytelling, all that stuff. I feel like the majority of people in letterbox are not huge Disney people, maybe for the most part. I could see how Miyazaki films would be the top go-getter as far as animated is concerned. Which a lot of things that you read there, it's all pretty much
Then there are
Miyazaki.
more that are a little deeper of those 20 for sure.
Yeah.
The other thing I'll say, so like Coco is the 20th one down on the top all time at number 236 of all movies.
Wow.
There's some recency bias happening here too,
Oh,
for
for
sure.
sure.
Based on
Yeah.
and that happens on Letterboxd. It's new. Everyone goes to
Yeah.
see it. The people who go to see it the opening weekend are going to love it more, and there will just be more of that to where over time people more critical looks at it, which is what
Yeah.
we're trying to factor in for Wall-E.
Of
But
course.
that said, Coco's got a 4.2, which isn't very far behind Spider-Verse, which has a 4.4, and fucking Wall-E has a 4.1. Like these are all
It's
in that
all
upper
close. Yeah.
echelon of great movies all time.
Yeah. And again, a lot of what we just did through right now is our opinions, how we feel about it, and all that. Even though Blake is good with the double talk and like backtracking on some of the arguments he's made, like in previous rounds for other movies and all that stuff like that.
I am not
But
left-handed. If you're coming in from the Spider-Verse and watching this 50 years in the future, let us know, how did this take age? Are we wrong? Does Spider-Verse hold up?
yeah,
The fact that recency bias was one of the bigger things, and the rewatchability one is interesting, because like that's how you know we were at a razor's edge there between the two.
no, for sure. And again, we're not, all of these movies have their place in the ratings and the loves and the hearts of all of us. We all have the great thing about movies in general is because it affects everyone differently. What we have here and what we just went through could be very different if you did it yourself, but this leads to great art, like conversations, debates, whatever the case is. Let us know again all your thoughts and comments about who the overall winner is here. Wally, do you agree? Do you disagree? What were some of the things that you thought were missteps along the way that we went through just now? We would love to hear all your thoughts and opinions on it. This was fun. This was a lot of fun. And again, if we're doing this later on for our best picture March Madness, this is going to be one hell of a tournament.
Oh no!
So we
I don't even
gear
like
up.
this type of movie very much compared to the
Yeah,
other ones. Oh
just
god!
gear up, get ready. That's going to be a blast. But that has been this episode of Movie Time. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining us with all of this fun stuff. Again, if you haven't done so already, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you can get notified every time a new episode's uploaded. Audio listeners, again, we love you very much. Thank you so much for listening. If you want an audio version of this, you can find it on your podcast platform of choice, just under the Low Key Geek channel there. And before we close it out for sure, Blake, where can people find you online?
You can find me on letterboxd.com with the username lastnamewolf, all one word, last name wolf. And that's where you can see me go back through all these movies and change my ratings, because I've just had to rethink them and my entire life. So thank you so much for this opportunity, Renee.
My pleasure. I'm glad we were able to go through this type of exercise and torture and all that.
It was
But
honestly
as for
fun. Cool.
It was great. Yeah. As for me, again, all the handles on the screen there: Low-Key Geek, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, here on this channel. Really, really enjoyed having this discussion with my boy here, and loved having you as part of that discussion as well. Stay cool, stay classy, stay safe, stay sane, all that good stuff. Be good. We'll see you next time. Peace out, everybody.